with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Ian, we are back. Great to be back with you.
What up, what up? Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Caroline Fenton, TD, Teron Davenport joins us as well. Jared Stillman is on vacation today. TD, appreciate you for hanging out. How we doing?
I'm doing really well. This is similar to back when we had the Chase and TD show on Fridays back in the day. We used to call it Freaky Fridays. So let's have one of those.
Let's get freaky. Happy Friday, everyone. Well, TD, this is what I wanted to get into with you because I feel like I, myself, and so many other Titans fans have had this mental dilemma. I can at least speak to myself about this mental dilemma that I've been having about the Titans quarterback situation. The second that they drafted Will Levis, all of these thoughts flooded in my head of when does the clock start ticking on Ryan Tannehill? Has it already started ticking? Is this a quarterback competition? Is it Tannehill's job this season? Are they looking at Will Levis and saying, hey, this is a red shirt year for you. We are taking the Lamar Jackson, the Patrick Mahomes approach of bringing you along slowly, and it's Ryan Tannehill's job to lose? Is it truly a battle in camp? Is it Ryan Tannehill 1A, Will Levis 1B? I think there are so many different avenues that the quarterback situation could go down. From your interpretation of how things have gone, the conversations that you've had, what's your vibe of where the quarterback situation lies now and how much really is going to change?
Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback, and he's going to be the quarterback on – I almost said opening day, but when the schedule opens, he's going to be the quarterback when they kick off, and it's going to be a competition. It remains just a theme throughout, even within the coaching staff. Like, they want competition everywhere. So that's just the way it is. That's the culture that Mike Vrabel has built within the building. So there's going to be competition. You're going to have the competition between Will Levis and Malik Willis. You're going to have the competition between those two and Ryan Tannehill. Their goal is to have everybody push each other to each elevate each other's game, and that's what you're going to see. At least that's what they hope to see from their perspective.
And that's what we've heard. I know Diana Rossini came out and said, this is Ryan Tannehill's team. He's the starter
conjecture.
week 1. Yes, of course. But at what point does that change?
I think if this team struggles, you look, right, they came out when they traded for Ryan Tannehill. They came out, hey, Marcus Mariota's the starter. That's the guy. And he was the guy they stuck tough times. Then the wheels completely fell off in Denver, and Tannehill went in that second half, did okay. Then the next thing you know, he's starting the following week. And if the wheels fall off, it is what it is. And Ryan Tannehill understands that because that's the whole reason why he has been the quarterback since week 6 of 2019. So it's just one of those things where it could go full circle, and now he's the guy that's getting pushed away, and Levis or Willis, whoever it should be, we know it's going to be Levis.
Right.
But Levis will be the one to come in.
And that's kind of the way that I view it. It's Ryan Tannehill's job to lose. Of all of the things that are going on in my head and all the different avenues that this could go down, of all of the different scenarios, the way that this quarterback situation could fall out, the way that I see it most likely happening is this. Ryan Tannehill is your starter, period.
Right.
That's with an asterisk, though. That's Ryan Tannehill is your starter until or unless or if this all happens.
Look, if it falls off, then, it's going to be turned over because what else do you have to lose? Get your guy out there and get him some experience, some important reps. So that's the way I look at it. But I do like Tim Kelly. His being selected as the offensive coordinator is kind of floating under the radar. You look at the season ender in 2021 where they were cooking the Titans on the field with Amendola and Davis Mills. And then you look at Deshaun Watson, that 2020. I started to go back and watch some of that film, and I will say Tim Kelly is going to be a fun coordinator to watch because there's a lot of things that he does as far as trickery, getting guys in good position, using personnel. That Josh Wiley selection, and we could probably get into it later, but that's going to give you a lot of flexibility as far as formations that you could use. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But I say all that to say it'll be very conducive to Ryan Tannehill's success. I think it's going to be a fun offense to watch, honestly.
And I think Tim Kelly is an underrated aspect of this offense. We can talk about the offensive line and Tannehill, the quarterback situation, the receivers, and obviously those are all incredibly important elements to this.
Yeah.
But I think Tim Kelly is key. And we've always said, and I stand by it, I believe it wholeheartedly, that as long as you've got Tannehill and Derrick Henry and Mike Vrabel, you're going to be good enough. You're not going to be one of the worst 3-5 teams in the league. You're going to be picking probably, middle of the pack.
Yeah,
picking 11 was more so the exception and not the rule.
Yeah, I mean, that was just – there were so many things involved in that 7-game losing streak, whether it's – look, we know the stuff with Todd Downing,
Injuries.
John Robinson, the injuries, just a terrible call. I still remain steadfast that – Josh Dobbs did not fumble, but look, it is what it is.
We could do 4 hours on that.
Yeah, so there's so many things that went into them being getting the 11th pick. The fact of the matter is, and even Tannehill being hurt the last bit, but the fact of the matter is when you have Ryan Tannehill, as you mentioned, Derrick Henry, most importantly, like Mike Vrabel as a coach, he's too good of a coach.
Right.
To where you're never going to get, unless like a disaster strikes, you're not going to have a top 5 or top 10 pick. It's very unlikely. And that's like a gift and a curse. You know what I mean? So
even last year with pretty much everything, not everything, but pretty much close to everything going wrong. Your quarterback gets hurt. Your offensive coordinator gets arrested. You have injuries across the board. Your general manager gets fired in the middle of the season. I mean, last year, I can't overstate how destructive last year really was. And they still managed to come down to the very last game of the season to compete for the division. A bad fumble call away from the division. But all of that being said, I think we all agree that this team is going to be just good enough. Maybe it's not making the playoffs, maybe it's not winning the division, but it's not top 10 pick. But even still, we've seen 2 very different Ryan Tannehills. We've seen the Tannehill of 2019, of 2020, where he was looking like a Pro Bowler. We saw 2021 where Ryan Tannehill looked like he had some confidence issues. He had some turnover problems, and we can attest that to so many different things, and things that I know you and I have talked about, everyone has talked about. Was it the offensive line? Was it the receiver core? Was it natural regression from Ryan Tannehill? Was it the injury of Derrick Henry and that threat of play action kind of being eliminated? Or was it the offensive coordinator? And I do think that Todd Downing was a bit of the element of some of the regression that we saw from Tannehill in 2021, and of course the offense as a whole in 2022. Arthur Smith and Ryan Tannehill, that pairing, and they were cooking.
Yeah.
So under Tim Kelly, that's the big X factor to me, because that's where I think we've seen 2 big differences in Ryan Tannehill. Can Tim Kelly be more of the Arthur Smith kind of Ryan Tannehill, where this offense looked really good, where this offense was a well-oiled machine? There's only so much that the offensive coordinator can do with what he's given. Or is Tim Kelly going to be more so the Todd Downing sort of relationship with Ryan Tannehill? And that's what I don't know the answer to.
I think first and foremost that they have to take away the being so predictable. That's something. The penalties have been an issue where they constantly caught themselves in 3rd and long. But if you look, so 2019, and I wrote about this. It posted this morning in my article about the conditioning. And the Titans under Mike Vrabel have, for the most part, been known as a team that not only finishes beyond or to the whistle, but also through the 4th quarter and even through the season. Like, they get stronger as the season gets longer. 2019, they were number 1 in second-half points. 14.9 points. 2020, they were number 5 with 14.2. Arthur Smith's out. 2021, they dropped down and they were 10.8 points in the 4th quarter, second half. Last year, dead last.
Awful.
5.5. I say all that to say you have to be able to adjust as teams adjust to you. And I think that's something that you didn't see happening as much over the last couple of years, and those numbers show it. So the main thing is to be able to, and Arthur Smith used to do this so well, where he'll show you something, and then say, okay, I'm going to show you this right hand, but I'm going to slap the mess out of you with this left. That's what Tim Kelly has to do. And in watching some of the things that he did from 2020, like with different motions to jet sweeps, faking a jet sweep to a screen and those type of things. And Todd Downing has some of that with the Henry and Hilliard in the backfield, a fake screen to the right to Henry, throwing it to the left to Hilliard for a touchdown against the Commanders. But you need to be able to do that more consistently, and I think that's going to be the key for Tim Kelly. But then also showing different looks. Tim Kelly used a lot of empty, and it gave Deshaun Watson opportunities to just, catch it in shotgun, look, and get rid of the ball quickly. It's spaced out. You got switch releases sometimes. Just different things happening, because it'll be, I say spaced out like with 5 receivers, but the receivers will be close, and you have a switch release where the outside guy watching a lot of the stuff from 2020 with Tim Kelly, that's what you're going to see, and that's going to help Ryan Tannehill. It's going to help Traylon Burks. It's going to help Chris Moore. It's going to help Josh Wiley, Chiga Conquo, Westbrook and Kenny all the way down the line. All of them, Kyle Phillips, everybody.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, I think the quarterback position is going to be incredibly interesting. We'll say Ryan Tannehill starter week 1. But really, from there, anything is on the table. Mm-hmm. How much of that is Ryan Tannehill, and how much is Will Levis in the driver's seat of that decision? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline Fenton, Teron Davenport, in for Jared Stillman on vacation today. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Tonight, Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Final between my beloved Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. Coverage on 94.9 The Fan begins after Sounds Baseball. Your home for the NBA playoffs
is 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Nissan. School's almost out. Parents, are you ready for the summer break? Long days, hot weather, restless kids? Oh my! We've got one possible solution for you. Our annual student car giveaway. If you have a high school student who makes good grades, listen up. Our student car giveaway is our way of rewarding those smart students. For every A on their report card, they get 1 entry to win a brand new Nissan Versa. That's right. Good grades might equal a free car. The student doesn't even have to have their own driver's license. Just good grades on a Tennessee high school report card. It's simple to enter, too. Just go to newtonnissan.com/our car giveaway and follow the instructions to enter. They must be present to win at the giveaway event at Newton Nissan in Gallatin on June 30th. The deadline to enter is June 12th, so don't delay. Enter your high schooler today. Yes, this is a free car that'll be given away to one lucky Tennessee high school student. Even if they only got 1 A in gym class, they're eligible.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
Social Furniture's huge Memorial Day sale is now underway. You'll find your dream furniture on sale now at up to 70% off. Sectionals start at $7.99. Sofas from $4.99. Name brand queen mattresses start at $2.99. Complete bedroom sets from $11.99. Buy now and pay later with special financing for up to 48 months. Enjoy hassle-free same-day delivery and setup. Hurry in. Once these deals are gone, they're gone. Shop Social Furniture because of the way you are treated.
Hi, Sarah. I'm sorry I'm late. The traffic is crazy.
Yeah, it is. And it doesn't help that gas prices have skyrocketed. I can't believe how much it costs for gas now.
Everyone's talking about how much gas is, but I never pay full price for gas anymore. I just use the free Upside app, and I get cash back for every gallon of gas I buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid real cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yeah, real cash every time I buy gas.
What? That sounds like it could really add up.
I've made around $200 already.
Wow, that's serious extra money. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code CAR3 for an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back in your first fill-up. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code CAR3 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus in your first tank. That's code CAR3 for 25 cents per gallon cash back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Anyone want to tell me what happened?
Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to theGameNashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
When you look at the big picture, are you going into this with the mindset that you're competing to be the starter? How do you approach this?
I approach this to just get better every day, just get here and learn. I haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg of what's to be needed to know here as a quarterback. Regardless of how today and yesterday went, I got to just keep improving every day, putting the past behind me, learning from my mistakes, and just continuing to just get better and be the best leader I can be and the best person for this team to help us win as many games as we can.
That was Will Levis at rookie minicamp. Caroline Fenton, Teron Davenport in for Jared Stillman today. Will Levis isn't going to say at the podium, yeah, I'm taking Ryan Tannehill's job. That's exactly what I'm doing when I'm showing up here today is I'm working to be the starter. No, he answered it the right way.
Yeah.
But let's be real. That's exactly what his mindset is, or at least should be, going into rookie minicamp.
Yeah, that's what he wants to do. He wants to become the starter without a doubt. But he's doing it respectfully, right? And understanding, hey, look, I'm going to control what I could control. And what I could control is getting better every day. And it's one of the things like, you go and you speak to someone, right? And you say, hey, every day you got to get at least 1% better, right? Mm-hmm. If you get 1% better 100 days in a row, what happened?
100% better.
So you're going to be in a better position to be the starter. Right. And that's really what it boils down to. So he's taking the right approach. It's not like, hey, look, I'm gunning for it. No, it's, look, I'm going to get as good as I can be and push as much as I can and make them have a tough decision on whether or not to make me the starter.
He's saying the right things.
Yeah.
At least. And you mentioned, right now Tannehill's the starter. You got 6 weeks before the trade deadline, or before you might need to make some decisions. If you start out the season 2-4, Ryan Tannehill looks more of the 2021 self than he looks maybe of the 2022. He's turning the ball over. Offense isn't moving as well as it probably should. Then, yeah, it feels pretty easy to say there were probably a change made there, moves made there. And I don't think that you can make up your mind about that today of if we go 2-4, we're trading Tannehill and we're going with Will Levis.
Yeah.
Because as much as it has to do with Ryan Tannehill, I also think that Will Levis plays a big part in that as well. Will Levis turning the ball over in camp, not grasping the playbook, if that does happen, then that's not a move that you can make. But what have you seen, at least from Will Levis so far at rookie minicamp, what you saw from him at Kentucky, that you think that is going to be the number one thing that he needs to work on? That if he does take over ultimately as the starter at some point this season, that he would have improved upon that and proved that he could have been the starter.
Mm-hmm. The thing is just being very more careful with the football. And it's a gift and a curse for him too, because his arm talent is so extraordinary that if there's an opening like that ring light right there, he's going to believe that he could fit it through that ring light, and understand because at times he's able to do that he can do it. Right. So it's like one of those – it's a lot like Brett Favre even, right, where Brett Favre would throw so many touchdowns, but he threw a lot of interceptions because he had that arrogant arm belief, and that's what I think Will Levis has. So you have to kind of taper it down some. Mike Vrabel kind of touched on that about throwing the ball into a team meeting. It ended up having really good placement, but – it was, as he joked, a team meeting. There were a lot of defenders there, right. But Wiley was able to grab it, and it was, a big play to end practice. That's a really good thing, but you do have to understand there's a time and place for it. And especially with a coach like Mike Vrabel that's so focused on not having turnovers. Like, you ask him the key to winning games, he's going to tell you turnovers.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things he's going to say. So that being said, you want to limit and control the turnovers. I think that's why it's really good that they were able to get him in here, talk to him, and work through, okay, what happened on this one? You know, and there were times where it was like, hey, that was on me. There were other times where it's like I could have done. I'm sure Levis didn't ever blame anybody else, but there were plenty of times where it wasn't his fault. You know, so that's something. I think also like understanding when the journey's over, and this is something I remember in 2016 with Carson Wentz. A lot of times, it's like that hero in you, where you want to, and it's great to have it.
Yeah.
But sometimes live to see another play. Like if it's, you don't have to try to run through the linebacker to get the first down or second down. Just look, turn around, give it to Henry, let him get it. You know what I mean? That's a part of it, understanding when the journey's over.
That's the double-edged sword of playing hero ball. Is sometimes you don't always have to play hero.
Yeah.
The double-edged sword of I can fit it in this teeny tiny little opening, because sometimes you can and you look like the hero when you do it, but sometimes you throw the ball into traffic and it's a turnover and you look like a complete doofus by doing it.
Yeah, and it's got to be tough to coach, because like you want your guy to be someone that's going to get everything they can.
You don't want to take that edge away.
Right, to not leave meat on the bone. And it's got to be tough to coach, but at the same time, it's got to be even tougher to have a talent like that can't be on the field because he's hurt. And that's what you always saw with Wentz, you know. Right. So they got to make sure, and I'm not comparing Levis to Wentz, like play styles or anything like that. I'm just saying in that incident where you got to understand when the journey's over.
And Will Levis, I think, has a lot of things that you can't coach. The leadership qualities, at least from what I've heard from teammates at Kentucky, former coaches at Kentucky, evaluators, NFL scouts, that he's a leader, he's a first guy in, last guy out type of guy. Certain traits that you look for in a quarterback.
Yeah.
But there are also things with Will Levis that I have heard. I heard Dan Orlovsky on SportsCenter earlier this week saying it. We talked to Tim Hasselbeck yesterday on Caroline, Billy, and D-Mace. They all kind of reiterated the same sentiment with Will Levis. Is he's got great traits, but sometimes he just needs to chill the heck out. Like, just calm down. You don't always need to be on the move. How do you fix something like that?
I think having a guy like Tannehill to watch is perfect because, there's time Tannehill he'll get hyped. He'll talk a little trash sometimes, but
I like it though.
If you watch him, for the most part, he's even keeled. And that's a good example for him to see. And that's one of the things. I remember talking to the guys when he had all those comebacks. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what is he like in the huddle? Like, what happened? They're like, man, he came to the huddle and was just like, all right, guys, let's do what we got to do. It's just like he was earlier in the game. And I think that even keel, calm, always the same type of approach is something that is good for Levis to see firsthand. And I think it's going to come with time also because it's also a maturing process to where you don't always have to be hype and amped out there. Now, there's a time and place for it. Like, when he ran to Wiley after that catch and they celebrate, you do that, But there's a time and place for it. So I get what they're saying. You definitely want to not go out there and be too excited and amped up. You got to play. That's such a cerebral position. You have to play that, from a calm perspective. Like it's always jazz music playing in your headphones,
That's what Tim Hasselbeck said yesterday. Is don't be listening to Metallica pregame. Like throw on some Willie Nelson. Throw on something just to calm you down a little bit. And I think that kind of brings back my thought of what the Titans are going to do moving forward with the quarterback position. Is just calming down. Is that something that comes with experience? Well, then throw Will Levis out there. Put him in the fire. Learn from experience that, hey, you can drop back and you can take your time and you can take a breather. Or is that something that they're looking at like, hey, look, if he's already high-strung, the last thing we need is him going out there throwing an interception and letting the nerves build even more. We don't want to put him out there to threaten that, that high-strungness, if that's even a word, getting worse. And that's kind of what I go back and forth with, of the theory of sitting versus playing or easing into it with a rookie quarterback, how they approach that with Will Levis.
I think it's important to just let him be him.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, you want to make sure that the things that you're teaching him are such second nature and muscle memory or however way you want to put it, that he could just fall back on that. You know what I mean? I know I get to my fifth step in this drop. I know that strongly believe that this linebacker is going to drop out of there. I got that route coming underneath, and if he sits on that route, I got this one over top to almost where it's like robotic, and that's how Tannehill is. Tannehill is out there like a robot. You know what I mean? He doesn't care. Even with A.J., well, there were times where he was like, YOLO.
Yeah.
I'm going to 11. You
and
know
then
what I mean?
AJ's out there somewhere.
Yeah, and even like that with Burks at times,
Yeah.
you know. But for the most part, it's always, all right, this is where the defense and my reads are taking me. This is where I'm going. And there's no time to get excited because you're just working out there like a robot. And there's so much stuff that you're processing. I think that's the way Will Levis will be able to calm it down.
Don't give yourself the opportunity to get all worked up.
Yeah.
Just go through
Play
your
within
reads.
the scheme and what they're asking you to do.
Calm down in the weight room.
Yeah.
It's chill. It's all gonna be okay. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. I think that the Titans right now, if Will Levis is their quarterback of the future, which I don't think they would trade up in the second round to select Will Levis if they didn't view him as the quarterback of the future. But I think they're in the perfect position because they can run it back with Tannehill this year. They can let Will Levis learn. They can let him learn by osmosis the leadership, the calming down, the element of what it takes to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think they're in a great position, which of course can change and they can reevaluate it as we get into the season. But the quarterback room might be a little crowded. Where does Malik Willis fit into this equation? We'll get into that with TD coming up next. Caroline Fenton, Teron Davenport in for Jared Stillman today, who was on vacation. We'll get into your text as well coming up next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
Most people picked them to make the playoffs before the season even started.
And your source for Nashville sports.
He can still wait for 5 more games before he makes that decision.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Start your savings journey now. A strong savings strategy creates financial stability, leading to more opportunity for you and the people who count on you. At F&M Bank, our savings accounts help you save easily, plan for expenses, and prepare for whatever comes your way. Life is complicated. Banking shouldn't be. Come see us at one of our branches or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
Looking for a big diamond? Genesis Diamonds introduces our Elite Collection, all new for this year. These are large, rare diamonds in the top 1% of the world. 3 carat, 4 carat, 5 carat, up to 10 carat precious diamonds for the most discriminating buyers who appreciate quality. Genesis owners travel worldwide, tapping a vast network of diamond cutters, carefully hand-selecting each of these remarkable diamonds. We invite you to view this premium collection of GIA-certified diamonds, rounds, cushion cuts, emerald cuts, even fancy colored diamonds in size and quality never before seen here. And to showcase these exquisite stones, only Genesis has the finest handcrafted rings from all the world-class designers. If this is the year you're upgrading her original diamond, or you just want to go big for the first time, no need to travel to New York or Los Angeles or Antwerp. Genesis Diamonds' elite collection of large, precious diamonds is here in Nashville. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House at Opry Mills. Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, is full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy traditional German bratwurst, schnitzel, giant pretzels, and more in an Oktoberfest-inspired space. Visit BeerHouseNashville.com for their live music schedule. Get a $50 gift card for half off right now at thegamenashville.com/deals while supplies last.
Mom, we're out of potato chips.
Teenagers, they'll eat you out of house and home, kind of like health insurance, which can take a big bite out of the family budget. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available.
Can we order pizza?
Visit FBHP.com or your local Farm Bureau office today.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Tonight, the Sounds continue their 6-game series on the road at Durham. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 5:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I could see preseason go in either way in terms of how you talked about the reps. All right, Ryan doesn't play, okay? And Levis plays a half, in the preseason games. And Malik plays the second half in the preseason games. Look, maybe you say, I'm good. I'm comfortable with what I've seen from him. He's going to play. Like maybe that indicator of he doesn't play is, hey, we're making sure he doesn't get hurt for the season. Maybe that can be misleading. I think that in OTAs, in mini camps, even in preseason games, like it is really hard to have a real competition. It just is. And then on top of all of that, D-Mace, and I think part of it is, look, maybe you've already made your mind up, but where's Malik Willis factor into this? Because, like, if you're saying, like, we're going to give Will Levis more reps because we want to figure out if we're comfortable with him playing and getting him out there sooner rather than later, what kind of snaps does Willis get? Or are you just done on that project?
That was Tim Hasselbeck. And that's the question that I have. Caroline Fenton, Teron Davenport in for Jared Stillman today. You draft Malik Willis in the third round just last year. And I understand that if you whiff on a third-round pick, it's not the end of the world. But a third-round pick, it's still pretty valuable draft assets. A third-round pick is not a seventh-round pick. No disrespect to seventh-round picks out there. But I don't think that you can just give up that easily on a third-round pick. But when the Titans selected Will Levis and when they did all of the homework that they did on quarterbacks, that to me showed me that we don't view Malik Willis as our quarterback of the future. We're not willing to continue to put that kind of investment into Malik Willis. So where does this season stand for him? Because I look at it, preseason games, Will Levis likely will get a majority of the work. In training camp and practice, when they're working with first and second team, Will Levis and Ryan Tannehill are going to get a majority of those snaps. Where does the opportunity for Malik Willis lie to show, or at least get the opportunity to show this coaching staff, hey, I'm a better quarterback this year than I was last year?
I think Levis and Willis are going to split the reps as far as first team is concerned when Ryan Tannehill's not out there. That's what I think. But with all of this, you don't have the luxury of having repeat offensive scheme. There's going to be similarities, but Tannehill is still going to be out there trying to re-grasp the concepts and the terminology and all that. So he's going to need his reps. Yeah. That's what makes this whole thing so interesting because you got a new OC. You got a tempo, right, that they're using. Getting in and out of the huddle quickly, that's something that they're going to have to get repetition on. And you heard Daniel Brunskill on, when he spoke earlier this week about, hey, we're out there, and we're just talking about all-season conditioning work, but we're out there and we're going on Ryan's count over and over. It's that memory, that familiarity that they're trying to develop. So I say all that to say, I think first-team reps might be a bit limited for both of those guys. Yeah. But you're right. When you look at Willis, it's going to be a competition for he and Levis, who's going to be the backup. Obviously, with them being at 11 where they were, or even so you look at 33 or trading up to 33, they felt like, hey, we may not have a chance to get a quarterback like Levis. We don't expect to be in this draft position every year.
Right.
So that being said, they went and grabbed them, and it's just one of those things, and you've heard them say it over and over again. We're going to let them sort it out on the grass. And I think that's the way it's going to work. You're going to see Levis and Willis get a bunch of reps. I still think Tannehill, at least the first game, I think he's going to get – I think the first couple games, like he's preseason, he's going to get a good amount of reps. You know what I mean?
Tannehill preseason?
I think Tannehill, you have to get him in game situations. But at the same time, if they move forward with the 2 joint practices, then you could get game-type reps that way. So that's another factor to put in here. There's so many. Long story short, Willis is a guy that I'm not going to say they gave up on, but they're just like, hey, look, we got an opportunity to get another one. We're not going to be afraid to put competition in that room, and may the best guys win it out. Will they carry 3 quarterbacks? Probably not. Does that mean Willis could get cut? Possibly. Does that mean he could get traded? Possibly. But it's really one of those things where their play out there in practice is going to determine how they move up as far as their reps being increased with the first team, with the second team, being more consistent. That's the way I look at it, and I'm looking forward to watching that.
I'm looking forward to watching it. And part of me thinks, okay, Willis has been putting in this work in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see what he looks like now. And then part of me goes back to the Chiefs game, the Texans game, where Malik Willis looked like a fish out of water. Like, he looked incredibly misplaced as a quarterback at this level. And part of me thinks, how much work can you really put in, and how much better can you really get throughout one offseason to make such a massive leap that now you're competing to be the backup, and now you're competing to kind of edge out this team's second-round pick with top 5 pick hype?
I believe the best way you could get better at football is by playing football, right? So obviously he hasn't played any football since, that second Texans start.
Which was not good.
It wasn't good. However, you also have to look at the factors going into that.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, Ryan Tannehill struggled at times with that group and with the scheme. So that's definitely something. But above all else, you have to remember it's like me. Let's say you got a husband and a wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have a 2-seater, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we have to get a car that is going to be able – and because they have twins.
Yeah.
So they say, hey, we have to get a car that's going to be able to put those twins in there.
Right.
Right? But they don't go out and get a car that could do that. They get a 2-door car. It's not going to serve the right purpose for them.
Right.
Right? It's just the same with Will Levis, with Malik Willis. They said, hey, he's going to be a developmental guy. Like, we're going to develop him. Right?
Yeah.
Just like the husband and wife who had intentions of getting a car that would be suitable to have their twins in it.
And they didn't.
They didn't do it.
Uh-huh.
It's just the same. Willis didn't get a chance to develop.
Yeah.
And then also you look at the practices. I mean, it was Coach Vrabel said it himself. Like, man, we're having trouble. Like, we're trying to field healthy guys to have a practice that's more than jog through speed. The only time Malik Willis was seeing full speed stuff was in these games. And then you look at the first Texans game and let him throw the ball, 12 times?
Yeah.
The Chiefs game, he didn't throw it much. The second Texans game, I think it was like 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
But none of it was a position where he could be successful. He shouldn't have been out there.
It was general manager malpractice that he ever played.
It's tough because Tannehill had been so durable. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, I don't think he's going to get hurt. So we could just and just in case, we could put the rookie out there. And then we got Woodside, and it didn't work.
Hope is not a strategy.
Yeah, hope is not a strategy, but belief is. Belief is. And I think they had the belief that Tannehill wasn't going to get hurt. And, I mean, it was a freak, Khalil Mack rolled on the ankle and it was over, so.
And with Malik Willis, I think if the Titans wanted to carry 3 quarterbacks, they could. I don't really understand this whole, people being allergic to carrying 3 quarterbacks thing. I understand you bring in 3 quarterbacks and that eliminates an extra inside linebacker that you can carry on the 53-man roster. I totally get that. But I do think, even though Malik Willis left much to be desired, and that might be an understatement this past season, if the Titans put him on their practice squad, there's going to be a quarterback's coach, an offensive coordinator, a head coach around the league. One of these 31 coaches around the league that looks at Malik Willis and says, I can work with that. Yeah. I can do that.
Yeah.
I can shape that.
So that'll be a team that's keeping 3. Because I don't think there are many places he goes and becomes a backup. I wanted to say Philly, but then Mariota popped in my mind. I wanted to say Pittsburgh, but they just extended Trubisky. You want to say Chicago, but they have a couple guys there. They drafted Tyler Badgett, the D2 player, and then they from Shepherd, and they signed another quarterback. I don't remember who it was, but long story short, it's going to be tough to find a backup position for
There are a lot of crowded rooms out there.
Yeah, but to your point, they could have, it could be Three's company. You know what I mean? They could have Three. They just have to figure out where they're going to go thin at. And that's where, like, having a guy like Sean Murphy Bunning, who was really cool to talk to, by the way. I definitely like his presser. But having somebody like that could play you could put him at safety if you want to. I mean, you prefer him at corner, but he's a true DB. Having somebody like that definitely helps. Having a Molden, he had to stay healthy, but you know what I mean? Having those versatile players help.
Let's get some of your thoughts on this. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have a thought or a question for TD, one texter texts in, says the offense for Tannehill and Levis is the same. Willis has a different skill set than them.
I don't know that to necessarily be the case, because you could run a lot of play action and all that stuff with Willis. In fact, I like doing that, honestly, and that's what I thought they would do more of, which kind of baffled me because I thought they would have more play action, half field reads, just give them an easy high-low and work it that way. I'm not the OC, you know what I mean? They have him all the time. They know what they're doing, but that's just something that I thought would have happened. I don't think the playbook is totally different with Malik Willis. In fact, I think it's very similar. They, in my opinion, have similar skill sets in that all three of them are very good throwing on the run, and that's something that you see a lot of with this offense.
And that's what I think a lot of times gets misinterpreted. Like, let's go back to the Chiefs game, the Houston game, games where Malik Willis was in. You can't completely throw out the playbook and completely rewrite a new one. Yeah. You're not going to install the Lamar Jackson offense for when Malik Willis is starting to kind of accommodate that run-first quarterback. I don't think Tannehill gets enough credit for how good he is on his feet, for how good he is on the move.
Mm-hmm. People forget he had, 8 rushing touchdowns a couple years ago. He was second only to Jalen Hurts as far as quarterbacks running. And that was when, Lamar was healthy for the most part. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Tannehill does not get credit for that. You look at was the Bucs game in 19, the Bucs game, where he trucked that defender for the 2-point conversion after Humphreys had the catch. He trucked him. You know what I mean? Tannehill, I would like to have him as my quarterback. I like Tannehill, man. I really do like him. And I remain objective, but I really like Tannehill as a quarterback, because there's moments like that you could think back to, like, yo, that's that dude. You look at the Jaguars game. You got Josh Allen closing in on him, and he had the audacity to yell layup while Josh Allen is throwing. And it was a ball that was perfectly placed, once again, to Humphreys for a touchdown. I like Tannehill. He has swagger. He's not like the ultra, get in front of everybody and give you some crazy story type of quarterback, but he is a guy that, in my opinion, he gets the job done.
We're right back to your phones on the quarterbacks coming up next, 615-737-1025. Plus, Dan Graziano on ESPN.com highlights some of the biggest questions surrounding every quarterback position group or every quarterback room around the NFL. What he has to say or questions he has around the AFC South. We'll get into those. And, of course, your phones coming up next. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. Hiller's been taking great care of my home for years, and they can do the exact same for you. Hiller's Heat Wave Heroes are keeping you from getting burned this summer. If you know your home needs an air conditioning replacement, do not wait until it breaks down. You do not want to be sweating in your home. This month, get a free UV light and free electronic air cleaner when you buy select new HVAC systems. Or get a whole home water filtration for just $59 a month. Or get a new whole home generator for just $139 a month. Call Hiller's Heatwave Heroes to save the day. Visit happyhiller.com to book. Again, that's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
This fall, Vandy 24-21. Your final. The Game. All by himself for a one-hand flush. Gets bigger. the doors on the board. Your new home for Vanderbilt Athletics is 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan. Football, men's basketball, baseball, and women's basketball all live here. Your home for Vanderbilt Athletics is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops. We've been serving golfers since 1968. Let us help you find the hottest gear from bags, balls, shoes, and apparel. All in stock at the best prices. Come in and test drive the latest arrivals from Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping, and more. While you're there, get custom fit by one of our golf experts. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop us in store or online at EdwinWattsGolfShops.com.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for their news, traffic, weather, sports, and a community connection. It's the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times. It's critical that we keep AM radio in cars, because when cell and internet services are down, this free emergency service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Spring. It's a season full of new life and new opportunities to celebrate. Hi, it's Alex Johnson from the Diamond Cellar. From weddings and anniversaries to new babies and graduations, plus everything in between, there's no better place to discover the perfect gift for every occasion than the Diamond Cellar. As a true jeweler, we not only curate the finest selection of luxury jewelry from world-class designers, but we can also create something truly one of a kind just for you. Visit the Diamond Cellar in Green Hills or online at diamondcellar.com.
Small business owners, we know finishing your to-do list can feel like rowing upstream, but it's a river, a whitewater river, and the only paddles you have are pool noodles. Then when a new to-do pops up, you're like, nope, I'm already rowing upstream with these pool noodle paddles. At Progressive, we don't want to make your day any harder. That's why we make it easy to get personalized discounts with a commercial auto insurance quote online, so your to-do list is smooth sailing. See if you can save on commercial auto insurance in as little as 6 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverages and discounts not available in all states and subject to policy terms and underwriting.
A show that lives and breathes sports.
Focus in, focus in, focus in.
From the SEC.
Credit to the Alabamas, the Georgias, and the Ohio States of the world.
To the Preds.
They've been in a lot of really tight games, but they're not winning enough of them.
To the Titans.
He's talking about what this franchise has built over the years.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace.
What is this? Check it out.
Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Corey Curtis in 30 minutes. When I get into Dan Graziano's questions surrounding the quarterback position and every team in the NFL. But first, let's get some of your thoughts on the quarterbacks. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Weston is on the line with a thought. What's up, Weston?
Hey, guys. This is for TD because he follows the Titans, and, I mean, you all do. This is kind of a two-part question. So with Tannehill and Levis this coming season, it kind of brings some intriguing thoughts. So if you're the Titans and you have Derrick Henry coming back with Tannehill, I understand our cap situation, but do you go out and get you a star receiver and allow that receiver to stay on the salary for next year and then cut Tannehill and this be a go-for-it year, win the Super Bowl, give Carthon a little bit of stability, and then have that receiver stick around for Levis and still have those other pieces around him? So I'll hang up and listen.
Oh, wait, before you hang up, Weston, I just want to make sure I follow you. So you're saying get a star receiver and cut Tannehill this year?
No. So you get the star receiver and you let him, like, go get Devontae Adams, for an example, and you let him play with Tannehill this year and with Henry, and y'all go for it, and we go for it, win the Super Bowl this year. And then if you need to cut Tannehill for salary cap to make sure Devontae can stay around a little bit longer and keep him for Levis down the road, then I'm open to that possibility.
Yeah, that's something that they
Thanks,
could
Weston.
do. Thanks, Weston. That is something that they could do. They're going to have a lot of cap space, a lot of money to spend. Rand Carthon is going to be able to shop at Neiman Marcus next year.
Santa Rand.
As opposed to Target. But it's going to be good for him. I think the problem with that, any of these receivers of significance, you're going to have to trade, like draft. They got 5 picks.
They don't have draft
They don't
capital.
have the capital to do it. That's the problem. And, yeah, you could say, hey, you put Malik Willis in the trade or something like that, but they don't – there aren't enough tradable assets. Mm-hmm. And I hate to refer to a person as an asset. So there's not enough power to be able to bring in one of those significant receivers. So in theory, that would definitely work. But there's just one thing: you don't have the ability to go get it with what you have available to you. And
that's the difficult thing about the Titans and where they're constructed right now is in order to make a trade like that, especially for a receiver of Devontae Adams' caliber, you need the draft capital to get him, and you need the money to pay him. Those are both things that are in very short supply for the Tennessee Titans. And I go back and forth with this because I keep saying the Titans aren't done building the wide receiver room. They can't be. But every receiver that's on the market is either too old or too expensive, or I think, that's not the guy. That's not going to be the guy that's going to come in here and be your legitimate number 2 to Treylon Burks. So I don't know if there's a perfect scenario out there. But let's use Devontae Adams for example. Devontae Adams is going to be 31 when the season starts. I don't want the Titans to put themselves on the hook for $25 million a year for a 31-year-old wide receiver.
Yeah.
I love Devontae Adams. He's a good player. But is that Devontae Adams, trading for Devontae Adams is a go-for-it move. We view that we are Devontae Adams away from winning the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. I don't view this team as being a Devontae Adams away from winning the Super Bowl.
No, and that's the problem. They're not just that away. There's still other things that have to fall into place. I think they will. I think the defense is going to be fine, but I think just as the offense, you still have to see what you have in the offensive line. There's a lot of questions. And you could even say the T. Higgins, that's an intriguing one. But I always say with that type of situation, be careful, right? And I'll point to Peerless Price. Mm-hmm. I'll point to Alvin Harper. There's a lot of outstanding number 2 receivers that were thrust into the number 1 situation where every week the defense is like, we're going to stop you. Mm-hmm. As opposed to we're going to stop that other guy and try to stop you. And it doesn't always work out. And I'm not saying T. Higgins won't be an outstanding player if he leaves the Bengals. I'm just saying you got to be careful with that.
And when your supporting cast is, and this is no disrespect to Treylon Burks and Nick Westbrook-Akine, but when your surrounding cast is Treylon Burks versus Nick Westbrook-Akine, that looks a whole lot different than Jamar Chase and the rest of that Bengals receiving core. But I want to get into this because I want to get your thoughts on this, TD. D. Mace and I were kind of throwing this around yesterday. Dan Graziano listed 32 questions for the 32 quarterback situations or quarterbacks in the NFL. Mm-hmm. The question for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Is Trevor Lawrence ready to join the AFC's elite quarterbacks? Now, I know when we talk about the AFC's elite quarterbacks, we can look at it as an overarching umbrella term that encompasses Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, Jackson, now Aaron Rodgers, all of those great quarterbacks in the AFC. But when I look at the elite quarterbacks, I look at Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and I'll throw Josh Allen into the conversation. Those are elite. I don't want to use the word elite sparingly. Justin Herbert is a good quarterback. I don't think he's an elite quarterback. Lamar Jackson's a great quarterback. I don't think he's an elite quarterback. So when we look at those 3, Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, I don't view Trevor Lawrence in that conversation.
No.
Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions against the Chargers in the wild card game. Everyone is counting out, at least the way that I say everyone. I don't mean that to be a blanket statement, but I think nationally, after Ryan Tannehill threw 3 interceptions against the Bengals in the divisional round, everyone said, okay, can't win with Tannehill.
Can't win, yeah.
If the Jags would have lost that game against the Chargers, if Brandon Staley would have made just a few better decisions at the end of that game, the Jags would have lost that game, and I think the conversation around Trevor Lawrence could have been very similar.
Yeah.
I can't go there. with Trevor Lawrence. And honestly, I don't think it's really that close.
The tone with Lawrence is different because he's so young. And then he had the mulligan year with Urban Meyer. And now you have him in a situation where he's with a guy who has proven himself. Well, he played the position himself. Not that well, but he played the position in the league. And he is proven to have done an excellent job developing quarterbacks, right? You look at, what Wentz did there. You look at the start of Jalen Hurts. You look at Nick Foles. He didn't develop Nick Foles per se, but Nick Foles caught fire with his play calling. So it's different, I think, than a lot of these other quarterbacks. But at the same time, I'm not ready to put him in that elite status either. I'm not ready to put him, above select guys. It's all about the potential, though. That's what they're looking at. Hey, in his first year with Doug Peterson, look at how much better he got. Okay, well, how much better? Yeah, and he did.
Yeah.
How much better will he get? Oh, and the Jaguars, that's the in vogue team right now. You know what I mean? The Jaguars are kind of like the Bengals of last year, 2 years ago, minus obviously going to the Super Bowl. But can they come back and have another good year? Can they stack another good year on top of that breakout year? That's the whole thing that remains to be seen about Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. And I'm not ready to put him in that elite status yet. I'm ready to put him in the very good quarterbacks. Jarrett and I talked about this yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't think the gap between he and Ryan Tannehill is as huge as people make it out to be, honestly. And, I mean, that's just me saying that, but I don't think it is.
I don't think you're off base in the slightest by saying that. Because if you ask me today, what quarterback do you want to build your team around? I'm going to say Trevor Lawrence because of the age and because of the potential. I think that Trevor Lawrence has shown very similar production with Ryan Tannehill, but with first overall pick hype and with a name that everybody knows. Oh, Trevor Lawrence. He's a great quarterback. And that's not to say that I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be Ryan Tannehill for the entirety of his career. I wouldn't be surprised in 3-4 years if Trevor Lawrence does ascend to that elite quarterback status. But right now, today, if the ball in their hands, you got to win the game, Trevor Lawrence or Ryan Tannehill, I honestly would probably have a more difficult time deciding who I would want with the rock in their hands than maybe some might think.
Yeah, no, I get it. But, I'm not going to get it twisted either because, Lawrence, 4,000 yards passing over that, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, so it's definitely impressive.
Totally.
It's definitely impressive, and the arrow is clearly pointing up. But I'm just not. I'm always, and this is the same thing with Justin Herbert going into last year. Everybody was ready to say like, "Oh man, this guy is going to be." They're fitting him up for the gold jacket already. It's like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's let him prove himself a little bit more. Win a playoff game. Make it to the playoffs because he hadn't done that up to that point, and win a playoff game, and we could continue to see the progression. I think with Trevor Lawrence, that's what it's really about. Just, okay, you're in a good situation now. How are you going to stack those years? This year, I think, will really be the one to determine whether or not he is one of those elite-type quarterbacks, just like Joe Burrow made the tremendous steps that he did over the last couple of years.
And if there's a time for him to do it, it's now. With that receiving core, with that running back, with that head coach, I would love to see Justin Herbert under a Doug Peterson or under a Shane Steichen or a Kyle Shanahan, under a coach that's known for developing some of those quarterbacks. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. The national media is counting out the Titans. Vegas is counting out the Titans. Let's take a look at the schedule and say, are they right or not? Do we agree? We'll get into that coming up next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has an all-star lineup Monday through Friday. Batting first at 6 a.m., it's Robbie and Rexroad.
Yeah, you take that. You take that. Take 80% of that.
Followed by Chase and Michelle at 9.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I need my caffeine so much.
Then it's Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace at 11.
Yep, green light, let's go.
You've got a lot of options.
He say, she say. And bringing it home at 2, Jared Stillman for Stillman and Company.
That guy will be a good coach.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen. Last year, Karen bragged to her book club, "Hey ladies, I'm going to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix." And the ladies were impressed. I mean, Karen was going to the only IndyCar race roaring through downtown Nashville, featuring 6 different types of racing, tons of concerts, and family fun. But then, Karen totally bailed and stayed home to read. Karen is such a Karen. Come on, don't be a Karen. Snag your tickets at MusicCityGP.com. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, August 4th through 6th. Get amped! If you're a Karen, please send all complaints to Karen at MusicCityGP.com.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Whatever your destination in life, you can get there easier with a checking account from F&M Bank. At F&M, our checking accounts give you the tools you need to manage your money well, like our smart free checking account that's actually free. Because sometimes the basics are more than enough, making lives better by making banking easier. Come see us at one of our branches or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
Buffalo Bill's Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's east entrance. 5 museums in one, including a wonderful Plains Indian Museum. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bill's Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
Family Leisure's 31st Memorial Day sale.
DIY pools start at just $19.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99 installed. 6 months, same as cash.
Great prices on spas and hot tubs. The Cypress Spa by Strong is only $29.99.
I want some new patio furniture. Family Leisure has hundreds of sets on sale.
The Sabre Infrared Grill starts at only $11.99. Complete Bull Grill Island start at only $39.99. Installed with a Sabre grill head. Tanning beds, pool tables, massage chairs on sale now.
Family Leisure, 2 huge locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Family and fun come together. Your Game Center update.
I'm Nick Keyser. A change at general manager today as the Maple Leafs announced they will not retain Kyle Dubas going into the next season in a quadruple overtime last night in Raleigh as the Panthers took down the Hurricanes 3-2. Matthew Tkachuk was the hero with 12.7 seconds to play in the 4th overtime. Here he is after the game-winning goal.
I'm excited to get out of here. I'm excited to catch that 2:35 bus back to the hotel and get some sleep and some food and everything in us. I mean, this guy's cracking Red Bulls before the 4th overtime. Like, there's pizza flowing. It's actually pretty funny seeing it.
Meanwhile, the Milwaukee Admirals are back in action tonight here on 102.5 The Game at 7 p.m. They can clinch their 3rd trip to the Western Conference Final in franchise history with a win over the Texas Stars. And the Sounds picked up their first win of the series versus the Durham Bulls last night, going out on top 8-4. They'll be back in action tonight at 5:20 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing. And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We're live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Corey Curtis, News 2, will join us in 15 minutes. Caroline Fenton, Teron Davenport in for Jared Stillman today. He is on vacation. Much deserved day off for Jared Stillman. But TD, I'm going to put it very blunt and very simple. Everyone thinks the Titans are going to stink. I'm looking at Vegas, and so far the odds up for the Titans games, they are underdogs in every single one of them. At New Orleans, plus 3.5. Against the Chargers, plus 3.5, which I'm a little shocked that spread isn't a little bit bigger than it is. Browns, plus 4.5. Against the Browns, I don't think the Titans are going to be favored against the Browns. What am I missing with the Browns? And then, of course, 6-point underdogs against the Bengals. I don't really have a problem with that. But there are so many games on this Tennessee Titans schedule in which the Titans are underdogs, and I don't understand it. Looking at so many power rankings, across, national reporters, and the Titans are in the depths of the NFL. ESPN.com has the Titans ranked 28th in their power rankings. Maybe I'm a homer. Maybe I'm looking at everything with my two-tone blue glasses. I don't see the Titans being as bad as maybe a lot of people might think that they're going to be. In this stretch where there are odds available in those 4 games, I think the Titans have a win in there, if not multiple wins against the Saints, against the Chargers, against the Browns, against the Bengals. I think that this team is going to be much more competitive than a lot of people are thinking that they're going to be. And am I justified in thinking that? Am I crazy?
No, I mean, you always have the fact that they're playing within the AFC South division. So your path to the playoffs, a la a division title, will typically be less threatening than some of these other divisions. So you have that. But then
that's a really nice way to put it.
Yeah. it really comes down to that 7-game losing streak to end the year.
Yeah.
And the fact that it ended on such a down note, people are overlooking the things that went into that losing streak. Or they're looking at it as, hey, man, they lost 7 games to end the year. They went from a 90% chance to make the playoffs to not making the playoffs. Well, let's look behind that. And then also it goes back to the quarterback. Listen, he's not that guy that's going to, go drink tea that makes you hallucinate or, any of that crazy stuff.
Who would do that?
Although I gave him a hottie totty recipe. He was sick.
Much different than ayahuasca.
That's different.
That's different.
But, yeah, I mean, I think it's really like he's not the most interesting guy, right? And we talked about the even keel approach that he has. So you're not going to see him doing some of the things that these other quarterbacks do. And then also, I mean, look, let's face the facts. He's not going to consistently put up 300-yard passing games. He's not asked to do that with this team.
He doesn't need to.
Yeah, so it's just the Titans themselves, like everything up, it's just not one of those things that is sexy to the modern-day fan. So naturally, the people who are projecting things to the modern-day fan is going to have a different approach with the Titans than they would with a team like the Browns, for example,
right,
who have, everything surrounding Watson, right, wrong, or indifferent. It's polarizing, right? And you got, they just went and got Zadarius Smith, and you got Myles Garrett, and you got
Nick Chubb,
and there's so many things going on with them. That's a team that is quote unquote exciting. They'll probably put up a lot of points, so they're going to always get more attention than the Titans do. And I was telling Jared yesterday with how the power rankings voting goes, it's more like a series of head-to-head. So it'd be like Bengals, Titans. Well, naturally you're going to pick the Bengals, right? Okay. Titans, Texans. You're going to say, you should pick the Titans, right? And then it'll go Titans, Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, Jaguars. You know what I mean? So, and that's how it goes. So naturally it's going to –
honestly.
I like that way. I just don't like power rankings at all.
Yeah. Especially this time of year.
This time of the year, during the year, and I never like them. But, I mean, it draws eyeballs, so you got to do them.
And, of course, power rankings, period, don't matter. Power rankings on May 19th really especially do not matter. All the power rankings in the world had the Philadelphia Eagles middle of the pack, if not bottom of the pack, in last year's power rankings around this time. And then, of course, Philadelphia Eagles go to the Super Bowl. So things change. This league has a funny way of doing that. But you mentioned, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's the quarterback.
Yeah.
It's that Ryan Tannehill isn't the flashy, young name franchise quarterback star that it seems like pretty much every other AFC team does have, the Burrow, the Allen, the Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at some of the Vegas odds, the Titans aren't huge dogs, but they're dogs nonetheless against New Orleans. Well, it's not like Derek Carr is some sexy quarterback, but it's a name that's in a new team, and they're thinking, okay, it's the Derek Carr era in New Orleans. It's going to be different. It's going to be new.
Yeah.
And they've got a lot of young talent surrounding Derek Carr.
Yeah.
I think there's just a big misconception, and I think that we all as sports fans have a tendency to do, is to look at the outcome and not necessarily how they got there, not necessarily the process. We look at the result of the Titans going 7-10 and missing the playoffs, not winning the division, having a 7-game losing streak, and saying, oh, they stink. Derrick Henry's washed, Ryan Tannehill's washed, the Titans, they're nothing.
Yeah.
But then when you look at what happened and the reason for that 7-game losing streak, that's not as fun to talk about, but it gives more, of a peek behind the curtain of the story.
Yeah, and that's the key to it. You look at the surface. That's the problem. You just look at the surface and you don't get underneath and see what it is. You look at the stats, and you don't look at, okay, how did they get to that point? You don't look at some of the things that aren't in the stats, right? And I think that's something that comes into play. You talk about a Jeffrey Simmons. He's a guy that's much better than the box score. And the box score is solid, but he's much better than the box score. And I think the Titans as a team, they're much better than the box score as well.
That there's implications. You can make impact that doesn't necessarily show up. And we'll chat with Chad Withrow later on in the show, and this is something that we'll talk about with him. But with the Titans, I think that this team could be anywhere from 11-6, 10-7. Also could be 7-10.
Yeah.
Anything is possible in between. And if somebody told me today, which do you think is more likely, 10-7 or 7-10, I would probably say 10-7.
I would probably go that route as well. But it could so easily shift 3 games, so it's early too. It's so early.
It is. But looking at the schedule before London, it's kind of daunting. You got New Orleans on the road at New Orleans. The Superdome's always a hard place to play. Hosting the Chargers, young, good quarterback. Going on the road against Cleveland. I don't know what Cleveland's going to be with Deshaun, honestly. I can't necessarily put my finger on them at this point. And then you got the Bengals, tough game. And then at the Colts against the Ravens in London. After that, I think it's a fairly favorable schedule for the Titans. The Falcons, the Steelers, the Bucks, the Jags, Houston, Seattle, Miami. I think those could all be winnable games for the Titans. You get through that gauntlet into London, you have the bye, come back. I think that this second place schedule and this schedule in particular, it can be incredibly favorable for the Titans. But to your point, the wheels can come off at any second.
Yeah, and the good thing is, the bulk of their division games are going to be in. So it's not only games that you feel are winnable, it's games against, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 4 division games, so it's games of heavy significance. So that'll be good for them to have that. That Monday night game at Miami.
That'll be interesting.
Tannehill still is the quarterback. That'll be very interesting. But Tannehill, he's going to say it's just like any other game. Then he'll go out and throw for 375. It steps to the podium smiling. You're like, come on, man. Like, why are you lying to me?
You can say all day long that this is just another game.
Yeah.
We see through you, Ryan. It's not just another game. It's coming back for revenge. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Corey Curtis, News 2, will join us coming up next. Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 The Game.
Go, guys, a wrister. Score! The Predators of tomorrow continue in the AHL playoffs with Game 4. Admirals and Stars starts at 6. Then check out Game 1 of the Western Conference Final as the Dallas Stars head to Vegas.
On your home for Smashville, 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now through Memorial Day, get fantastic deals at Electronic Express. Get a Hisense 65-inch 4K TV for just $349, or an Amanda laundry pair for $399 each. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department: computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture and mattresses, and more. Don't miss out on a Vio laptop for just $499, or Nintendo Switch bundles as low as $429. Shop in-store or online with up to 36 months free financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops. We've been serving golfers since 1968. Let us help you find the hottest gear from bags, balls, shoes, and apparel. All in stock at the best prices. Come in and test drive the latest arrivals from Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping, and more. While you're there, get custom fit by one of our golf experts. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop us in store or online at edwinwattsgolfshops.com.
Men, this is Evan Bass for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. If you're suffering with erectile dysfunction or other sexual health issues, you need to know that there is no one-size-fits-all treatment because everyone's made differently. That's why our urologists and medical providers offer a broader array of treatment options and can even combine or adjust treatments for greater effectiveness. ED can result from aging, low testosterone, prostate issues, underlying medical conditions, and more. And understanding why you have ED is the first step in treating the condition. That's why you need to know your numbers and understand what other factors might be contributing, and then work with an expert to treat it. And that's where we shine. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we have protocols that are effective in nearly 90% of cases, which means we'll likely find the right treatment for you and you can get your sex life back. So call us. Your first appointment includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices to serve you, Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063, The Game. Hey, join 1025, The Game for the 2nd annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura, benefiting Souls for Souls on June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebrities to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes, so sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf. Joining us now, News 2's Corey Curtis. Corey, always appreciate chatting with you. Corey, what were your biggest takeaways from rookie minicamp this past weekend?
Well, I have to be honest with everybody first and foremost. I was not there. I was
playing hooky, I see.
No, I was at the Orion Cup soccer tournament with my child. So that is where I was. I did listen to all the interviews, and I did watch a lot of the videos, to see what I could see. I think number one was the head coach just seemed much more relaxed than normal, and so that was kind of nice to hear, and it kind of made me feel good about this class and how they showed up to compete. But I think there's reason to be excited about all these guys. Obviously Levis is a great big guy with a strong arm, and he didn't do anything to dissuade that. Obviously the tight end Wiley is a big tall guy who can high point the football. And I continue to see ACL or no ACL, and Tajay Spears, a guy with all sorts of explosiveness. And I'm very interested because we started to see how they incorporated that with Dontrell Hilliard last year. And, with this type of investment in that position again, I would think that they will expand on that. So, obviously with Skoronski, I think they immediately got better with that pick.
What do you think about all that's being made about the conditioning and how some of these new veteran players are reacting to it?
It was interesting, wasn't it, Tron? I mean, just the overwhelming talk about how much more work that they're doing. Now, these are from new guys, but we've never heard anybody talk about this before. We had new guys come in before, and none of them have talked like this. So I would like to talk to some other guys who've been here to see how much different it is, but it sounds like it's different, and it sounds like, we've heard – how many times did we hear the word callous the other day?
I'm almost sick of it, like collaboration.
Yeah, yes. It sounds like turf in the stadium, this level of work this time of the year. It's an all-out onslaught to fight these soft tissue injuries. The way they're going to do it, almost like, the players have been trusted for a long time to have themselves ready, and they've used 180 players in 2 years. They're going to take the bull by the horns, and we're going to do it this way.
Corey Curtis is with us, News 2, and on that note, they're doing seemingly everything they possibly can to limit those soft tissue injuries. I mean, Harold Landry tearing his ACL in camp, that's just unfortunate. High ankle sprain for Tannehill and Jeffrey Simmons, that's just incredibly unfortunate. But like TD said, the turf and the conditioning, they're doing everything within their power to eliminate those soft tissue injuries as much as possible. But it's kind of a difficult dichotomy, right? You're doing everything that you can, but if the Titans run it back third year in a row where they're one of the most injured teams in the league, knock on all the wood, how does Amy Adams Strunk view that? I mean, it's not Vrabel's fault. It's not in his hands. But if you are, cut from the playoffs early, or if you miss the playoffs altogether because your team's so injured, what's got to give there?
Well, I mean, I think, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
They're doing something different. And so they are clearly trying to get a different result. If they get the same result, then I'm going to guess they're going to try something else. But they are trying something else without question. And so, clearly the frustration is there because you can't win in this league without your best players on the field. And they know that. And, I remember I had a discussion with Mike Vrabel his first or second year in the league. And Teron, you were here for this. Remember when Corey Davis, they were really nursing him back slowly, and he caught a lot of flack for it. And he told me, he's like, look, when I was at Ohio State, we had 5 Corey Davises. So if one of them got hurt, I just had another one to tap to. He's like, here I don't. I got one. And so he understands the importance of having your guys on the field, and that's one of the reasons he slow played getting those guys back out there a lot. Well, I think he's, I don't know if he is or he isn't, but by the approach, I would say he's questioning that approach and saying, the whole blister mentality. These guys are not prepared to play at the speed and explosiveness and avoid soft tissue injuries. When you hear that they're throwing the sleds around the way they're throwing the sleds around, and then you see some of the video, that's high explosive moves. That's preparing your body to move under great stress at high speeds, in ways that you can, I don't want to say get hurt, but the way muscles get taxed, they are taxing them and preparing them for that type of conflict on the field.
On that video, Traylon Burks was the final guy in he was the anchor leg in one of the sled relays. What do you think of Traylon Burks, how he spoke to us earlier this week, and some of the things that he said as far as attacking this season?
Number one, and I'll just ask you this, you were there, he seemed like a new man, didn't he?
Very much more confident, relaxed.
Yes. Yeah, confident, relaxed, really glad to have last year behind him, like he really learned something from last year, but still sounded confident in his abilities, and I think that is really important. I was really surprised because I heard some people on Twitter say all sorts of nasty stuff, so it's not that surprising. But some people saying to me that they still thought he looked fat, and I'm like, I thought dude looked shredded. I mean, I thought Traylon looked really good. I left that press conference really excited to watch him play this year. Really excited, and really excited to see what he can do. Now, the defenses are going to be all over him because they've got to prove that there's something else out there to take their eye off of him to go get. But I am really excited if they can protect the quarterback and give him time to see what Traylon Burks can do this year.
Corey Curtis is with us. I'm with you. When I heard Traylon Burks say, yeah, I'm stayed here in the offseason, worked hard in the offseason, feeling better, so on and so forth, I was like, okay, all right, we're getting off on a better note in year 2 than we already were in year 1.
Yeah.
In what capacity do you think the Titans' ceiling and floor this season is kind of dictated by Traylon Burks' ceiling and floor?
Well, first off, we all make mistakes. Just do we learn from them? And, I don't want to say he made a mistake, but, he wasn't as prepared to play football last year as he needed to be for a variety of reasons. It happens when you get ready for the combine and stuff instead of football. But he learned from it. That's the big thing that you're learning from. And he's not dwelling on it, but and he's not just working on his physical fitness. You also heard him heavily emphasize working with the coaches and the quarterbacks so that they are on the same page and ready to rock and roll from day one. And I think that is hugely important. I think he is the single most important player to this offense this season if this offense is going to achieve at a high, high level. I mean, because I have an expectation for what Derrick Henry is going to do. If Ryan Tannehill stays in as the quarterback, which I expect him to be, I have an expectation for how he is capable of playing. But we saw it with A.J. Brown, and we saw it when Derrick Henry got hurt. A.J. being out of the offense did much more to slow the offense down than when Derrick was down. They were still able to run the football without Derrick Henry. No, not to Derrick Henry ability, but to a very proficient level where they could. I mean, they had 200-yard running games without Derrick Henry in the lineup, so they could still do it. But they didn't have anybody who could do what A.J. Brown did. And the way he opened up the field, the way he could take over a game. Shoot, he won the 49ers game practically by himself. So Traylon Burks, I'm not going to say he can be, I don't want to put that on to be A.J. Brown, but he's got to be that kind of guy for them, the guy who can take over and dominate a football game. He's got that kind of physicality. He's got that kind of hands. I think he's got that kind of dog in him.
What are you most looking forward to next week when we get to see the team on the field finally?
Jerron, you know the answer to that question. We want to see what the offense looks like, right? Mm-hmm. We want to see what they're going to do. We want to see, are they spreading the ball around more? Is there more emphasis on the passing game? Does Kyle Phillips look like a guy who can play? Are they getting the ball to Chigakonkwo more? I mean, I think we want to see the same thing everybody else wants to see is, are they more caveman still in the offense, or are they going to step up to the plate and be more 2.0 and go to the next level, in offense? And that's not saying you can't run the ball. The Rams and their high-flying attack, they ran the football. I mean, there's a lot of really good teams that are known for passing that are really good at running it, so they can still be really good at running it, but they've got to be more proficient, and they've got to be a bigger threat throwing the football. They've got to be able, I think, Derrick is not quite as explosive as he was, at least he wasn't last year. They got to help spread the field out for him just a little bit, and he can be punishing still on that second level. So I'm excited to see that and to see how they incorporate some of these guys, of course. See how the offensive line comes together, because that's also going to be hugely important.
It's a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Corey, what's your hot take?
I continue to look at the offense, and I kind of threw it out there with Traylon, but I think some of these guys, you forget what they can be. And you stole one of my lines earlier in the show when you said hope is not a strategy, because it is absolutely right. Hope is not a strategy. I continue to go back and look. I remember the day that J-Rob brought us in, and we watched that tape of all of the draft picks from last year, and we all walked out of the room saying, man, Kyle Phillips could really play. I mean, he was way better than than I knew. I mean, I know, TD, you watch a lot more tape than I do, so you probably had a better idea of what he was about. And so if he is bigger, he is stronger, he can be an impact player for this team. I think he can be a 700-800 yard guy for this team this year and make a big impact. But he's got to be able to stay on the field.
That's the key. Because I think I look at some of the aspects of this team that we didn't see at the end of 2022, Kyle Phillips being one of them. Harold Landry tearing his ACL, that's all net positive going into this season, just making assumptions that they are 100%. That Kyle Phillips can take that next step into 2023. Corey Curtis news. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying he's just, he's got to be stronger and he's got to be able to do it. But I think first, second game, I mean, he had like a ton of targets before he got hurt. I mean, he was somebody Ryan Tannehill trusted and liked, and I think with all the injuries, we forget that.
Even in training camp, you saw a whole lot of Tannehill to Kyle Phillips targets.
Heck yeah.
Corey Curtis, news 2. Appreciate you. It was great hearing your voice again, Corey. We'll chat soon.
All right. Good talking to you guys. Thanks very much. Have a great weekend.
Awesome. Appreciate you too, Corey. Coming up next, TD, you brought it up. Callus, not blister. Want to break down your most recent article on ESPN.com. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
They played tough. They came back and they still lost.
And your source for Nashville sports.
Yes, you want to have a fire sale, but who's going to buy those players?
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knezovic here for Superbook Sports. Bring that big bet energy this summer with Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports is the most trusted name in the sports betting world. And right now, if you use the promo code THEGAME, THEGAME, to score up to $250 with their best first bet bonus. Win or lose, they will match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code THEGAME. Simply visit superbook.com for terms and conditions or download the Superbook Tennessee app in app stores. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Gear up for spring at Coleman Tractor Company with Kubota zero turns and subcompact tractors in stock now and ready to work. Mow, dig, haul, and lift with the Kubota BX23S tractor loader backhoe. Now through June 30th, save up to $2,500 on BX23S models. Visit Coleman Tractor in Paris, Clarksville, Nashville, and White House today. Now through June 30th. See KubotaUSA.com for more information.
Start your savings journey now. A strong savings strategy creates financial stability, leading to more opportunity for you and the people who count on you. At F&M Bank, our savings accounts help you save easily, plan for expenses, and prepare for whatever comes your way. Life is complicated. Banking shouldn't be. Come see us at one of our branches or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike three.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Paul Feinbaum, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
What's it been like getting to know Vrabel? You knew kind of the type of coach he was in the NFL. It's hard to ignore that, but what's it been like actually being able to practice under him right now and get to know him?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. You know, we come out here, we work hard every day. We do a lot of things that other teams in the league aren't doing at this time. We're pushing sleds on Mondays. We're doing things that's different, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, it's enjoyable. You know, you come out here and it feels like you're working for something. You know, it doesn't feel like you're just coming to a 9-to-5 or coming to a job where you just show up, you get your work and you leave. It's like you want to be around, you want to be here. And you just want to work. You want to grind with the guys that are here with you because you know they're going through the same thing. So I enjoy it. You know, I do. Wake up every day with a smile on my face. I get up early, 5:30 a.m. I got alarms. I don't always get up at 5:30, but I open I drank one time coffee actually the first day here, just so I can try out the new coffee maker because it was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I wake up early. I don't really move. I just see my alarm, turn it off, and then I get up when, you know, it's necessary, and then I go about my day. But I enjoy, you know, coming to work every day. You know, there's days where you complain, obviously, but it's a more of a fun complaint than anything because everybody's going through it with you. So.
That was Titans corner Sean Murphy-Bunting on the intensity that he's experienced at the Titans practices, and we've seen it. In the video that came out on social media, Titans with the sled relays, races. And you have an article, TD, Caroline Fenton, Tron Davenport, and for Jared Stillman today. You have an article on ESPN.com mentioning the callus that Mike Vrabel mentioned, you know, way back when. Daniel Brunskill, offensive lineman, even used that same word, that it's callous, not blister. That's the mindset that Mike Vrabel, the trickle-down effect that he's bringing in to these practices. And, I mean, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Daniel Brunskill, while they're new to the organization, they are not new to the NFL. They've been around. And each have been talking about how intense these practices have been. Is that something that's new this year, or has it been just as intense every single year and they're getting acclimated to the Vrabel way of things?
That's what I want to find out. Is that, in fact, a complete shift from how things have been done before? I don't think that it's a complete shift. I think there may be some elements that are different and the intensity may have been elevated some, but you mentioned Brunskill and Murphy-Bunting, Azeez Al-Shire as well. Yeah. And he went back to 2021 when they came here, they meaning the 49ers, and they were favored to win, and it was a game that, you know, they probably should have won considering the personnel deficiencies, specifically along the offensive line that the Titans had. But he was like, man, they were down to a practice squad offensive lineman. They still won, and I'm like, how? You know what I mean? But then he said, being on the other side of it, seeing an example of what happens leading up to the games on Sundays, he can understand it. I think that quote right there really encapsulates everything that the fans want to see and that the team wants to see as far as doing something to address the issue. And then you look at Vrabel's statement in January. Do you want to be a blister or do you want to be a callus? Do you want to keep working through every day and get your volume up so that you could withstand the volume and the rigors of the season? That would be a callus. Now, you look at that, right? You transpose that to Daniel Brunskill's comments about how this team, looking at how they are, a run-first team, physical defense, how they should be more of that callous approach seems to fit them more. One of the things that stood out to me, get your volume up so that you can withstand the volume and the rigors of the season. When you're going tempo on offense, you're going to have more. Now, I'm not saying it's on Chip Kelly's level, But when you're going tempo, you're getting in and out of the huddle, you're going to have more times to run plays. I would imagine this offense is going to be more efficient, therefore better on third downs. Therefore, they're going to be going fast and they're going to be going often. They need to prepare for that now. And Brunskill mentioned that also. Brunskill dropped a lot of nuggets, a lot of jewels in his presser. I really liked hearing him talk. But the thing that he said, because I asked him, okay, well, how does this condition, knowing the tempo part,
right,
how does this transfer over to what you guys want to do on offense with speed and tempo? And he talked about consistently firing off the football. He talked about threatening the defense right away for misdirection. And I showed you the play from Tim Kelly back in 2020 where you could work that misdirection. So I think all of that ties hand in hand, and it was pretty cool seeing all of that just kind of come together. And I think, the headline of the story, right, is one that – so for us, our editors throw the headline on there. It says Titans coach Mike Vrabel taking callous approach to avoid injuries, parentheses, again, during off-season workouts. It kind of gives it a different tone than what the story actually tells.
Right.
Because I wrote this story from a perspective that I think they're being proactive, knowing what they're going to have up against them as far as this offense and what they're wanting to do.
And while I don't think that the intensity approach, how Mike Vrabel approaches practices, I don't think that's new. But I think that there are a couple elements that have kind of brought it up a notch. One is the up-tempo offense of we're going to run this, and you're going to keep up with it, and we're going to start it now. And if you can't keep up, then you're going to be left behind. So we're going to start that in May so that in October – whenever we're moving up tempo, we're trying to get ahead of the defense.
Right.
You have the endurance to be able to keep up with that. So it's an effective up tempo. Up tempo only works if your big men up front can catch their breath.
Yeah.
And I think the second aspect of that too, I think there is an injury aspect of it as well. Of Mike Vrabel, practices have always been intense. Well, practices, I think, have always kind of had this element of competitiveness. Now Mike Vrabel's looking at it like putting his foot down. We're not doing this anymore. We're not dealing with the soft tissue injuries anymore. I can't be losing a corner a game. I can't have our consistent, injury report players on and off the Bud Duprees of the world, of these guys that we don't know if they're going to be reliable week in and week out. I am putting my foot down, and we're doing everything we can to avoid those soft tissue injuries. So it's just leveling up and having a different expectation, rather, a higher expectation.
And I think you factor the fatigue aspect into it also. I mean, injuries a lot of times happen from fatigue.
Yeah.
But then also mental mistakes happen from fatigue also. So if you're getting yourself in that condition to be able to go hard often, then those fatigue errors and injuries will be cut down, to your point about some of the soft tissue stuff. But I think this is the right approach. Whether or not it's something that's tremendously different, I don't know. But I definitely feel that the intensity has been elevated, and you're seeing it all the way to Traylon Burks. I like kind of like the tone that he set for himself, sticking around during the offseason, running so that he could breathe, so that way he could feel faster. Those are all really good things, and as Murphy Bunting said, like, you leave the facility feeling like you did something. And that sense of accomplishment, it's contagious, right? And it's something that you stack it, right? You keep stacking those types. That's one of the things I remember covering the Ravens. John Harbaugh would always say that. He would talk about stacking days. I loved when he would preach that message to them, because I'm just like, it makes so much sense, and if you could continue to stack those days where you put that work in and you know the value with it, and you leave knowing like, man, I did what I needed to do today, and that's what Murphy Bunting said. It hurt, but it felt good because I knew I accomplished something. And those are the type of things that you build. I don't want to say momentum, but you just build that mindset, that mentality, that aura, that vibe. I think that's where that goes it has value there.
And starting that early, setting the expectation now. And not just setting the expectation of this is what the next, 6 to 8 months is going to look like, but also we're starting that in May so that in June we're that much better. So that in July we're that much better. To your point, the stacking of days.
Yep.
Once you start stacking that from day one, you're going to be much better off.
Exactly.
What about, just before we get into my next thought on this, we had a lot of storylines, a lot of thoughts coming out from that day. What in particular about what Aziz Al-Shaair, Daniel Brunskill, and Sean Murphy-Bunting said that stood out to you to kind of motivate you to write this piece?
Well, it was just the fact that, like Murphy Bunting was like, man, sleds on a Monday, and then the word callous, I heard Al-Shaair say it, I heard Brunskill say it, and it took me right back. That's why I made sure I grabbed that quote and put it in there, because I remember Vrabel had mentioned that back in January. So I think it was just, it was like the enthusiasm that they had talking about it. Like, you don't normally hear guys talk about that hard work and getting pushed to the limit and smiling about it and everything. They embraced it. So I was like, yeah, we need to talk about it. And also just the fact that with the injuries, this is something that you could tie into that. And it gave me an opportunity to touch on Burks a little bit, which is what I wanted to do. So, yeah, those were the reasons. And
you bring up the vibe, TD, just the vibe around the team where it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like, just in my opinion, the vibe's a little bit different. And we'll get into that coming up next. And, of course, your thoughts as well. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 The Game.
1025 and 1063 The Game has an all-star lineup Monday through Friday. Batting first at 6 a.m., it's Robbie and Rexroad.
Yeah, you take that. You take that. Take 80% of that.
Followed by Chase and Michelle at 9.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I need my caffeine so much.
Then it's Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace at 11.
Yep, green light, let's go.
You've got a lot of options.
He say, she say. And bringing it home at 2, Jared Stillman for Stillman and Company.
That guy will be a good coach.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game.
It's Family Leisure's Memorial Day sale.
So get your family swimming now. DIY pools start at just $19.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99. Installed with 6 months, same as cash.
Over 450 different packages to choose from. Guaranteed below internet prices.
Family Leisure has great prices on spas and hot tubs in stock and ready for immediate delivery. The Cypress Spa by Strong is only $29.99. Family Leisure has the one you want at guaranteed low prices.
I want to be in some new patio furniture. Family Leisure has hundreds of sets from all the best brands on sale at guaranteed low prices. And right now, free delivery.
I want to check out the new grills and grill islands. The Sabre infrared grill starts at only $11.99. Complete bull grill islands start at only $39.99. Installed on your patio with a Sabre grill. Tanning beds, pool tables, massage chairs, and more. On sale now at Family Leisure's 31st Memorial Day sale.
That's Family Leisure. 2 huge locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Being value conscious and getting the most for your money is so important these days, and that's why it's more important than ever to shop at Genesis Diamonds, the undisputed value leader.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we explain to you how we travel the world and purchase our diamonds, how we buy in bulk, we pay cash for our diamonds so we can save every possible percent to save you money on your diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
There are no middlemen, there are no other wholesalers or dealers, so we cut out all of those extra added markups and pass those savings on to you.
When you combine that unmatched value with a totally no-pressure shopping experience, you know you're in the right place.
Because we do not work on commission, our sole purpose is to make sure you get exactly what you want. There's nothing in it for us personally, whether you spend $1,000 or $100,000.
That's why at Genesis, people often end up spending less than they had budgeted.
Our goal is to purely present you with options so you can choose exactly what you want.
The value you want, the experience you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. It's that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Bon appetit. Take some Titans.
Derrick Henry.
Some breads.
Roman Yossi.
Even some hoops.
Light fires. Wow.
Put it in a blender. And what do you have? Chase and Michelle.
Pretty incredible.
Call or text and weigh in.
The fastest 2 hours in sports radio. Weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You said you've been here the whole time, but has there been any kind of change of approach broadly or for you on how to prepare yourself to avoid soft tissue stuff?
No, sir. I would just say the main thing is being healthy. So being able to practice, being out there running sprints, that helps eliminate me from, all athletes from hurting hamstrings or tearing something. So just being able to practice is the main thing, and that's what I've been doing.
That was Treylon Burks this past week, and TD has a great article out on ESPN.com. The headline is Titans coach Mike Vrabel taking callous approach to avoid injuries during off-season workouts. And the essence of your article, TD, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it is the intensity that this team has been playing with throughout practices. Sleds on a Monday, Daniel Brunskill, Azeez Al-Shaair, Sean Murphy-Bunting, some of the newcomers to this Titans team, talking about the way that this team practices. It's different, it's intense, but it's infectious, and we're having fun doing it.
Yeah.
And while I don't think that the essence of the way that this team practices has changed year over year over year, I think the intention is a little bit different. They're doing it maybe just a little bit intentional. The vibe feels different. And I've kind of noticed that. We heard that clip from Treylon Burks. I feel like his vibe, speaking with the media, the way that he kind of approached the media, the way that he talked about his training, his vibe felt different.
Yeah.
The way that Ryan Tannehill spoke, the way that he spoke about Will Levis, the way he spoke about this team, the way he spoke about himself, he had a different vibe to him. And it felt like there's been a certain level of confidence that I noticed in those two that just feels different. The way that these newcomers, Azeez Al-Shaair, Daniel Brunskill, and Sean Murphy-Bunting, the way that they're talking about the way that they practice, the way they talk about Vrabel, feels like it has a different vibe to it. Maybe I'm reading way too much into it. Maybe it's the fact that it's May and things really haven't gotten too difficult. Talk to me in July when you're doing it in the heat. Things might seem a little bit different.
That's a different.
But the way that this team and really, individuals have entered this season feels like it's a different vibe than I've noticed in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, definitely with Burks, you could tell that there's a different level of confidence. You could tell that he is just more comfortable. And that is something that I feel comes along with putting in the work. Like, if you're putting in the work, you could stand on that. And that's what I think Burks is doing. Tannehill, I think, he's just like always seems to be the same. But I definitely feel what you mean with Burks. And then even the new guys coming in and speaking, like you said during the break, we haven't really heard new guys come in and comment about the off-season workouts like this.
Right.
So.
All three of them did.
Yeah. And it could be that, it's very clear that all three of those guys are very comfortable. You see Al-Shaair is outspoken. You see Murphy-Bunting's outspoken. You see Brunskill's just polished. And if there's a point, he's going to get his point across. You see that. Whereas last year, Austin Hooper wasn't exactly the best person to talk to. So it could be that, right, that we have a different caliber.
Different personalities.
Different personality.
Yeah.
As far as how outspoken they are than we had last year as far as the new guys. It could be that, but I really think that the intensity has increased, and it's just that confidence is coming from, again, being able to stand on knowing that they're putting extra work in.
And even with Mike Vrabel, after rookie minicamp, and maybe we just caught him on a good day, but he seemed awfully chipper after rookie minicamp. You were there. Did you feel kind of that same, I hate using the word vibe, maybe aura around that practice as well, maybe different than you have felt in past years? And of course, every class is going to be different. Every approach is going to be different. Coming off of different seasons, you enter, the new season with a different kind of perspective. Did you feel the same difference in rookie minicamp that maybe you felt in practice on Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, it was different from the draft conversations, because the draft ones, like, he did not seem like he wanted to be there.
It's not chipper by any means.
I think you look at Simmons signing, he was, really, you could tell he was happy about that. So I think,
in his step.
Yeah, I think maybe it was just the moments that he was in. And, yeah, it could have caught him on a good day. I don't think generally, like, he's too negative or, like, snappy. He has his moments, obviously, but I would say he was I think he was more open. I guess you could put it that way. And crack jokes, like when I had asked him about the Levis, making him feel old. Getting signing a football for him. So I could see that.
Let's get into some of your thoughts. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Sunny texts in, says, if the way that they practice isn't new, as that may be a reason for the injury problems the past couple of years.
If it isn't new, no, I don't think that you could not benefit from going hard. Like, I don't see how you could not benefit from it. And I mean, yeah, if something happens, then you have time to recover from it before camp. So I don't think that if it's not new, it correlates to the injuries. I think it correlates to, what they want to do as far as play with a physical mindset. So it works that way. As far as the injuries before, you got to look at – I need to sit down and weigh out, okay, how many more injuries were on defense than on offense? Because this team really struggled on third downs and so many three. They led the NFL on 3 and outs last year. So that defense is on there an awful lot. You know what I mean? So the more snaps you play, the more opportunities there are for injuries. Could that have something to do with it? Possibly. So there's all kinds of things that you could factor into it. But I don't think the way that they've been practicing or training, conditioning is hurting that.
I do think there's a good bit of element of luck with injuries.
Yeah.
It's just unlucky that Harold Landry tore his ACL in camp. I mean, that could have happened to any player on any team in any sport across the world. It's just unlucky that those things happen. But when you start to see trends year over year, 2 years in a row, you are the most injured team in the NFL. At one point, you have to do some introspection. And it's not the trainers, it's not the medical staff. It's, did you just happen to get unlucky 2 years in a row? Or are there things that you can eliminate? Are there things that you can highlight? To your point, defensively, because now that you mention that, I think about the injury reports week over week over week. It's Bud Dupree, it's Christian Fulton, it's David Long Jr., and of course not exclusive to those guys. You had your fair share of your Taylor Lewans and Traylon Burks, but soft tissue things. I mean, Traylon Burks had a concussion.
Right.
You can't avoid
prevent
that.
it.
Yeah. So that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Traylon Burks. What are the expectations for Traylon Burks? How much of A.J. Brown does Traylon Burks need to be? We'll get into that coming up next. And hey, tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight at 5:35 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Durham Bulls, the AAA affiliate of the Tampa Bay Rays. Sounds wrap up their series this weekend on Saturday at 5:35 and Sunday at 12:05. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. Stillman and Company, Caroline Fenton, Teron Davenport in for Jared Stillman today. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The NFL offseason is in full swing, but you'll never miss any of the big news. Thanks to Yahoo's Charles Robinson.
They know that there's a chance that they're going to have to deal this guy.
He's one of the best insiders there is.
All of a sudden, he becomes a functional player who we thought was just trash.
Join Charles Robinson every Thursday morning at 8 on Robbie and Rex Road, presented by the NFL Alumni Association on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen. 312 Pizza Company is your spot for the best Chicago-style eats right here in Nashville. From thin crust pizza to deep dish pizza to Italian beef sandwiches and Chicago dogs. Doesn't get much better than that. Until now. 312 Pizza Company is now serving up their award-winning pizza by the slice. All day, every day. Don't have time to wait for a full pie? No problem. Get a slice instead. Order a full pie but want a little more? Add another slice. Do it. Honestly, just go get a slice. 312 Pizza Company. Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria. Go get a slice.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormonal deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve your quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
Get in on the conversation at 615-737-1025. The game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
It's Family Leisure's Memorial Day sale.
So get your family swimming now. DIY pools start at just $19.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99. Installed with 6 months, same as cash.
Over 450 different packages to choose from. Guaranteed below internet prices.
Family Leisure has great prices on spas and hot tubs in stock and ready for immediate delivery. The Cypress Spa by Strong is only $29.99. Family Leisure has the one you want at guaranteed low prices.
I want to be in some new patio furniture. Family Leisure has hundreds of sets from all the best brands on sale at guaranteed low prices. And right now, free delivery.
I want to check out the new grills and grill islands. The Sabre infrared grill starts at only $11.99. Complete bull grill islands start at only $39.99. Installed on your patio with a Sabre grill. Tanning beds, pool tables, massage chairs, and more. On sale now at Family Leisure's 31st Memorial Day sale.
That's Family Leisure. 2 huge locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Family and fun come together. Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I think my battery's dead.
With free battery testing and charging, AutoZone is here to help.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
What if I need a new one?
We have the right batteries right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone.
And what if I don't know how to connect it?
No problem. We have a how-to for you at AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. We begin with some sad news in the sporting world. Hall of Fame running back Jim Brown has passed away at the age of 87. There is a bunch more sports action on the docket for tonight. Coming up on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, we are full with some playoff hockey. Starting at 6:30, we have coverage of the Milwaukee Admirals, the AHL affiliate of the Nashville Predators, as they take on the Texas Stars in Game 4 of their playoff series. Following that, we'll have Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Western Conference Final between Vegas and Dallas. On our sister station, 94.9 The Fan, the Nashville Sounds are back in action versus Durham. Coverage begins at 5:20. Then, at the conclusion of the Sounds, we will have some NBA playoff action as the Boston Celtics are looking to even the Eastern Conference Finals versus the Miami Heat in Game 2. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We're live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Caroline Fenton, Teron Davenport, in for Jared Stillman today. A much-deserved day off for Jared Stillman. TD, you got heated the other day in the middle of our Jared versus Joe conversation. But let me preface this by saying, Traylon Burks really encouraged me.
Yeah.
In his discussion with the media on Tuesday. Traylon Burks really excited me. Hearing what he was saying, the work that he was putting in the offseason. Oops, I just hit my mic. He stayed in Nashville in the offseason. He was working with the Titans trainers. He got himself in shape. He changed his diet. He got to the podium and really to the media said, hey, I acknowledge that my asthma got in the way. Maybe that I wasn't in the best of shape this past season. Acknowledged and owned up to the rocky start that he got to this past season and said, this is everything that I've been doing in the offseason to make myself better, to avoid those problems that I was having. Mm-hmm. And, hey, if you can make a mistake and learn from it, hats off to you. That's Absolutely. All that I ask, that you can learn from some of the shortcomings or mistakes that maybe you made in the past. So I was encouraged and I was excited about what I heard from Traylon Burks. Everything he was saying, I was like, yes, 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 love to hear it, love to hear it. Show me on the football field. You know, I'll see it, I'll believe it when I see it, but I'm encouraged and I'm excited by what I heard.
Yeah, no, definitely encouraged and excited. Just the self-actualization part of it. And that's something this morning on Robbie and Rex Road I pointed to. Like, that's the first step, and that's a tremendous step. So he did that, and then he not only realized what was wrong, he went in and he took measures to fix it and prevent it from happening again. So those are things to definitely be pleased with.
Mm-hmm. A certain sense of maturity.
Right, a sense of maturity. He's shown progress. He's shown the willingness to embrace the role that's going to be placed on him as well, because you put in that hard work knowing that, hey, this team is going to be relying on me, so I'm going to make sure I do what I got to do to help them.
And that's exactly what it is. The role that Traylon Burks is going to have to play, the role that he has, because there's just simply nobody else around him. Right. And that's exactly what he was drafted to be. You're a first-round wide receiver. You expected to be, you know, a big carrier of the brunt of the load. Mm-hmm. And going back to Jared versus Joe on Wednesday, one of my questions for Jared and Joe was, to what extent does Traylon Burks need to be A.J. Brown? In a nutshell, that was kind of the extent of the question.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask you the same question. To what extent does Traylon Burks need to be A.J. Brown?
None. He doesn't need to be A.J. Brown at all. I think he needs to be the best Traylon Burks. And the best Traylon Burks that he could be is a really good player. And he needs to just be – see, I think you can't get too caught up in him being A.J. Brown as much as you get caught. You want to look at, okay, he has to be the guy, you mentioned it earlier, who's going to make defenses pay for focusing so much on the run game. Mm-hmm. That's what he has to do. And he showed flashes of that. The Packers game, getting by Jair Alexander, making that deep catch to kind of seal the deal for that win.
The Eagles game before he got injured.
The Eagles game before he got injured. But I think, you know, looking at the play action side of it, the Bengals game, making the big catch against Cam Taylor-Britt. Those are the types of plays that he has to be able to make consistently. That stretch, they need to extrapolate that 2-game stretch over a season. And you're going to have your time. Like AJ had times where he disappeared and you're like, hey, what the heck happened to this dude? You're going to have those times. But you need to consistently have games. Whereas, like, you could have one hiccup, but the next game you come back and you blow up.
San
then
Francisco
you have a solid
game.
one. Yeah, and those are the things. Game. Those are the things that he has to do, just be a more consistent player. And I remember talking to Tim Kelly at the Combine about Traylon Burks, and that's what he said, that, you know, the consistency, first making sure that he's out there more, but then being a consistent playmaker, and that's something that has to happen. So it's not as much as being A.J. Brown, it's as much as being the Traylon Burks that they thought he could be when he was selected with that pick.
And I think there's two different ways that you can look at the comparison of A.J. Brown and Traylon Burks. First and foremost, is it fair to compare the two? Probably not. Is it natural? Is it going to happen? Yes. You trade one in order to move up and draft the other. That's a natural comparison. You are going to compare those two. I think that John Robinson viewed the framework of that A.J. Brown trade and drafting Traylon Burks like the Stephon Diggs trade in Minnesota. You trade Stephon Diggs and you draft Justin Jefferson, and it's turned out to be a pretty good trade for Minnesota. You upgraded at the wide receiver position. But you don't compare those two really anymore, because Justin Jefferson is having an incredible career in Minnesota, and Stephon Diggs continues to have a good career in Buffalo. I think as long as Traylon Burks has not proven himself yet and has not emerged as that go-to wide receiver one for the Tennessee Titans, we're going to continue to make those comparisons. It's easy and it's obvious this past season. Traylon Burks kind of struggled with some injuries, couldn't stay on the field, and A.J. Brown went to the Super Bowl.
Right.
It's a really clear-cut comparison there. So I think it's natural, and it's going to happen. And I think that the way that I view the comparisons between A.J. Brown and Traylon Burks, when I say that Traylon Burks needs to become an A.J. Brown, I don't mean that Traylon Burks needs to be A.J. Brown. I'm not saying that he needs to play with the exact same style. I'm not saying that he needs to make the same kind of plays. But Traylon Burks needs to, the way A.J. did, instill fear in the defense, needs to do that.
Yeah.
Needs to be a go-to guy for Ryan Tannehill. Like we said earlier, YOLO, F it. AJ's down there somewhere, that go-to guy that Ryan Tannehill can rely on. That's what I want Traylon Burks to become. I look at it like let's say you're a parent, you have two kids. One kid's older than the other, and that one kid you're saying, man, you know, they're so respectful. They listen to me, they follow the rules, they're good in school. I have a younger child. I want my child to be like my first child. Not that I want my second child to have the exact same personality and the exact same interests, but I want my second child to be the same kind of obedient and kind and good in school kind of kid, to have those same kind of good traits.
The traits, yeah.
That's what when I say that Traylon Burks needs to become A.J. Brown. I'm not saying he needs to be A.J. Brown and have the exact same stats every single week and have A.J. Brown kind of catches. I need you to have the same kind of good qualities and good traits that A.J. Brown gave this offense.
Yeah, and so, like, for me, like, the clarification is just saying, hey, I need you to be the lead receiver for the team. I think
that's what it is,
eliminates, you know, all of that, because, I mean, you look at A.J. Brown, like, some of the numbers, like, I'm digging through the Slack channel.
Yeah.
And you look, like, over the first two seasons, he had 6 TD receptions of 50-plus yards. Only 2 guys in NFL history, we're talking about NFL history, have had more over their first 2 seasons. It was Randy Moss with 8, Odell Beckham Jr. with 7. So, I mean, like, and we could look at all types of numbers and things that A.J. Brown did and just point to why it's just not fair to Burks to say be A.J. Brown. And that's why I say, hey, be the best Traylon Burks. And the best Traylon Burks, in my opinion, is a lead receiver for this Titans team. It is the guy in the passing game. It is Ryan Tannehill's Linus blanket. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like in Peanuts. So I think that's really what it boils down to. I don't like comparing the two of them because I don't think their play styles are all that similar. You could do similar things, but they each have their own twist to them, and you know it's
different receivers.
Yeah, and it's just like I told Jared yesterday. I said, you know, you could have an Aston Martin and a Maserati, both are really wonderful cars, but they're different.
Right.
But they both go really fast. They turn heads and they do the job. Like, if you're spending that money, you're spending it for that performance and for the way people perceive it. So I think they both do that case, and I think that's what you have with Brown and Burks. I think Burks is very capable of having that type of impact to be the guy in the offense. But it just – and it's funny, like, you look at him. I remember last year there were multiple times where that was made, and you could see, like, come on, man, on his face, right? And, you know, you could
feel that way too.
Yeah, you could see it. So, for me, I don't think they're really guys that you compare, but their roles can be compared.
And that's the essence of the way that I feel, the expectations that I have for Treylon Burks. I don't need you to be the exact same player that A.J. Brown was. I need you to fill in a similar role. I need you to be that certified number one receiver. I need you to be the guy that defenses circle and say, you got to cover 16. You mentioned Treylon Burks needs to be the best Treylon Burks that he can be. What is that? What does that look like? Can he be that? Will he be that in his year 2? We'll get into that coming up next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Fireball Hot Take Friday is presented by Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. That's right. It's the weekend. It means it's time to celebrate. It means it's time to rejoice. Whether you're hanging out with your friends or whatever it may be, there's no better time to enjoy Fireball Whiskey than right now. That's right. Be sure to enjoy ice-cold Fireball Whiskey, either in the shot form or grab yourself a bottle. That's Fireball Whiskey. Ignite the night. Please do it responsibly and be 21 years or older to enjoy Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey.
Tonight, Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Final between my beloved Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. Coverage on 94.9 The Fan begins after Sounds Baseball. Your home for the NBA playoffs
is 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
The spring menu is here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel, featuring their signature cast iron pie with herb roasted chicken, English peas, carrots, potato, simple greens, and a toasted biscuit crumble topping. Or garden succotash with snap peas, black-eyed peas, roasted peppers, sweet corn, tomato, and caramelized onion. Or try the steak fritas with pan-seared ribeye. Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel, open daily till 2 with brunch Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 7 till 2.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Get ready for the power of Godsmack on their new world tour. With special guest, I Prevail. May 23rd, First Bank Amphitheater. Featuring songs from their new album, Lighting Up the Sky. On sale now. Buy tickets at LiveNation.com. Part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series. Buy tickets at LiveNation.com.
There's a right way and a wrong way to fight off mosquitoes. Karate chopping the air, in a public place, in front of your kids, and their friends, Mom, is the wrong way. Using Stem mosquito repellent is the right way. Stem effectively repels mosquitoes by harnessing active ingredients found in plants, like lemongrass and peppermint, making it safe for use as directed around people and pets. Stem, rooted in nature, optimized by science, and embarrassment-free.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What is it about that second year that allows guys to make that big of a jump, do you think?
I would just speak for myself, honestly. It just gives you confidence because you've already been in it. I got thrown into the fire, and, I like being thrown into the fire, honestly, because it just makes you decide of who you are, what kind of player you're going to be, and it just makes it easier on me now because I can just concentrate on the things that I know that can make me better and not worry about the stuff in the past.
That was Treylon Burks on entering year 2, and while there are high expectations, there are a lot of question marks surrounding Traylon Burks going into year 2. Come in year 1, and when he was on the field, he showed signs, he showed flashes of, okay, this is what John Robinson was seeing. This is why John Robinson made that move to trade away A.J. Brown to move up and take Traylon Burks, but couldn't consistently stay on the field, and that was the big question with Traylon Burks. In year 2, can he stay healthy? Can he be a consistent contributor to this offense? And looking at the wide receiver core around him, it's no disrespect to the Colton Dowells and Nick Westbrook-Akines and the rest of this receiver core, but it's going to be Burks. For right now, as currently constructed, Burks is the guy. And TD, you said that what Traylon Burks needs to be is the best version of Traylon Burks. What is that? What can we see in year 2 that is the best version of Traylon Burks, whether it's a quantitative or a qualitative evaluation of what he can be?
I think it's going to be a guy who gives you high average per catch, a bulk of that being yards after the catch.
An A.J. Brown special, not to compare, but
you look at the roles, what they're going to have him do, that play action, strike route. That's something that you do that with the understanding that you're going to get yards after the catch. Mm-hmm. So similarity in roles. I think he'll need to do that. I think he'll definitely need to be with that high average per catch. It's going to take some deep shots. He's going to have to be that guy that when it comes 3rd and 10, all right, look, man, we're going to run this route specifically designed for you to get the first down in that situation. Mm-hmm. That's a thing. You look at a number, I would say like 70 to 75 receptions, 1,065 yards, like something along those lines. Borderline double-digit touchdowns, 8 to 10. A guy that you could also motion into the backfield and do some things that way. I think really just an all-purpose player for them, meaning someone you could use down the field in the mid-range passing game, in the catch and run, on the smoke screens, all of that, all in one, and be the lead receiver in this offense. That's really what he has to do.
And in theory, if Traylon Burks is 1,000-plus yard receiver, I would feel, if you told me today, Traylon Burks is going to have 1,000-plus yards with no other information about the season, I would say, okay, I feel really good about that then. I feel really good about what this team can do. Because I feel like a whole lot of what this offense can be, what this offense can accomplish, how this offense can keep up against some of the high-powered offenses in the AFC, the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Bills of the AFC, that it's not a 1,500, 1,700 yard season. I think that's a little bit too much to ask. But if you tell me today, the 1,000 yards from Traylon Burks, I would feel really good about this season.
Yeah.
And I do think that a whole lot of what Traylon Burks is going to do this season is going to be indicative of how successful and how effective this offense is. It can't just be run it with Derrick Henry on downs 1 and 2 and then hope for the best on down 3 and then, defense comes back out on the field.
Yeah, and that was a problem we saw a lot of last year. So I think, when you look at the big picture, Tim Kelly's going to have a lot to do with this.
Yeah.
And how much they pass the football, how much they put their guys in position to make plays. And that goes back to some of the things we saw with the offense from 2020, rather. I think that's something that really has to come into play and really be showcased, his ability. And along with that comes, there's just something to getting a receiver involved. Matter of fact, next time, it's a shame you're not going to be with D-Mace tomorrow. But Monday, if you could remember, ask him about the significance of touching the football early in the game as a receiver, and how when they go to you early in the game, how that makes you dial in even more. It happens. And that's why you'll see in this script a lot of times they'll be like, all right, we're going to run this, this, and this to make sure R1 gets the football and he gets in the feeling of it. There's there's 2 players that I think of when I say that kind of thing. Steve Smith Sr. Well, you get that rascal to football early, and you get him off on a good, man, you better pack a long lunch as
The
a DB.
floodgates are open.
Or you're going to be in trouble. And T.O. Now, see, the problem with both of those guys, if they didn't get involved early, Randy Moss, too.
Mm-hmm.
Randy Moss especially, check right out.
He'd let you pay for it.
They check out.
Yeah.
They check out for stretches, and they freak out, too, because they're so, I need the ball. Now, Traylon Burks isn't like that, but he is someone that naturally you want to get the football early. You want to get him touches. And they did that a couple games, and it's something that's important that you want to do. That Packers game, they got him the ball early. I think it was that first series. He had that 40-yard catch where he ran that seam. Or no, it was a deep over he ran off of play action. And go figure, it was his best game as a pro. So that's important to do that. And as a play caller, you have to know that and understand that that's what you're working with. And there are certain guys that when you put that on them early, they want more and more and more, and they're able to embrace more and more and more.
You've been watching a lot of 2019, 2020 Texans film. You've showed me, broke down a couple of plays from Tim Kelly's time in Houston when it was DeAndre Hopkins, Deshaun Watson in Houston. Just from what you've watched, film you've seen, your understanding of this Titans personnel, what do you think we can expect from a Tim Kelly offense? What are some of his tendencies?
I think you're going to see a lot of 13 personnel, like 3 tight ends, right, and 2 tight ends in the backfield. Now, we didn't see any of that. I'm not speaking off of the rookie minicamp we saw, so I don't want anybody to think like I'm exposing
just your opinion.
I'm talking about from what I've seen in the past, and this was with, tight ends of lesser ability than Chig Okonkwo, so it's going to be fun seeing what he's able to do with him. But they will run like, for lack of better terms, like full house. You know what I mean? So you got Tannehill in shotgun, you got one tight end next to him, another tight end next to him, and you got another tight end on the ball. This is the one I showed you where I was telling you about 5 semi, how the flat curl concept that they could do out of that. And then you have one receiver. And you could do so many things, and then there's a running back behind Tannehill. So there's a lot you could do with that. A lot of empty also, which is good, and that's why I like you could obviously go 5 wide if you want, but you could go empty, and you could have I wouldn't really put Derrick Henry in that situation, but a Spears, Hassan Haskins, preferably Spears. You could go empty like that. They did that a lot with David Johnson, who went to college at Northern Iowa, I think it was, went to Northern Iowa as a receiver and converted to a running back. But they had him line up as receiver a lot. So you don't have a 5 wide receivers on the field, but you have that empty package. So I could see them doing that. A lot of stuff out of the slot, right? Kyle Phillips should have a big year, a really big year. And I could see them at times having Burks in the slot and running like that slot fade out of that as well, because that's something that they did with Hopkins a lot. They, even like once they got a hold of Brandon Cooks, they did some of those things with him. So there's a lot of different things that, watching that offense. The trickery, right? Like I said, running the screen, the smoke to Hopkins a couple times, and then later in the game, pumping that, and you got Kenny Stills streaking down the field for a touchdown. Those are all things that you see him do. And yeah, I think this offense, it's going to be more interesting than people think, right? And I don't expect to see the same, like, cloud of dust type of offense from the past.
I think what was so frustrating, at least for me, and I think a whole lot of Titans fans watching Todd Downing's play calls this past season, it was just things that just no longer made sense anymore. Like, why are you continuing to call the same play and it's just not working? And why are you continuing to do the same things over and over and over again? It's like the true definition of driving yourself insane is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. It was just frustrating watching that offense. And what you kind of highlighted to me from some of that Tim Kelly film in Houston was get the offense used to something that you're doing. and then pull the rug from underneath them.
Yeah.
Surprise them, keep them on their toes,
Yeah.
constantly show them something different.
Yeah, you give them a look, and then it's all about the variations off of different looks. And a lot of times, that's, like you look at Sean McVay, one of the things that's really cool about what he does is he'll run the same play out of like 30 different formations.
Yeah.
But it's essentially not 30, I'm exaggerating, but it's essentially the same concept. You just have a fullback doing something instead of a tight end, or you just have, a receiver in the slot instead of whatever. Like that's something that they need to make sure that they do. You stay consistent to your core concepts that you want to do, but on top of that, you layer it. And that's Arthur Smith did a great job layering plays, and it was almost like screw you play calling. You know what I mean? That's how it was. I loved watching his games, and I think if they could get back to that, they'll be in good shape.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Rightfully so. One of the biggest concerns that at least I have, I think some fans have, is this wide receiver core. You mentioned Kyle Phillips. Kyle Phillips could come back, be healthy, and have a big year. I'm not going to rest my laurels on it. I'm not going to go into the season hoping that Kyle Phillips can get to that point. Same thing with Treylon Burks. I'm excited. I'm encouraged from what I've seen, what I've heard about his offseason. I'm also not going to hope and pray and expect that he can become that 1,000, 1,200, 1,300 yard receiver.
That would be a lot.
So is this wide receiver room done? Are they done building? Who else is out there? How else can they continue to build up this wide receiver core? We'll get into that with TD coming up next. Caroline Fenton, Teron Davenport in for Jared Stillman today. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Stuck at work without a radio?
Wait a minute. Disastrous.
I hate that.
It's got to be there.
That's okay. Download the Game Nashville app or go to theGameNashville.com and listen live. We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Do you ever feel like gambling is causing financial strain or hurting your relationships? The Gambling Clinic has been helping people who want to change their gambling habits for over 2 decades. With physical clinics and remote online appointments, we're here to help you make informed decisions about your gambling so it doesn't lead to a bigger problem. Visit us at thegamblingclinic.com so we can work together to help you win your life back. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops. We've been serving golfers since 1968. Let us help you find the hottest gear from bags, balls, shoes, and apparel. All in stock at the best prices. Come in and test drive the latest arrivals from Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping, and more. While you're there, get custom fit by one of our golf experts. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop us in store or online at edwinwattsgolfshops.com.
Keep listening to 102.5 The Game for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Dave Matthews Band at Bridgestone Arena, Friday, May 26th, courtesy of Green Trees Company Dispensary. Listen for your cue to text to win DMB tickets from The Game and our friends at Green Trees Company Dispensary.
Do you take pride in your work? Do you want to help build Nashville? You need to join Ironworkers Local 492. They build Nashville, working on everything from steel erection on buildings and bridges, plant maintenance, concrete reinforcing, conveyor work, sheeting, welding, rigging, fence erecting, curtain wall, window wall, and a variety of other specialty work. They provide the best skilled iron workers for contractors and projects in Nashville. If you want to build Nashville, you want to be proud of doing it, visit ironworkers492.org. Join Ironworkers Local 492.
Buffalo Bill's Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's East entrance. 5 museums in one, including the fantastic Whitney Western Art Museum. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bill's Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. We have a team committed to helping you navigate the court system, whether you've been accused of a crime or you're going through a messy divorce and custody. Call our team to help you navigate this system. We are here to protect your rights, to demand your rights, to enforce your rights. 615-604-6263. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Dr. Rick here. If you find yourself getting particular about where you get the weather, you may be turning into your parents.
Looks like it might rain. Let's see what Corey from Channel 2 has to say. He's something else. I like him better than Harris from Channel 5.
You could just look up the weather on your phone.
I like Corey from Channel 2.
Progressive can't help you from becoming your parents, but we can help you compare rates on home insurance with Home Quote Explorer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
The postseason is here. Whether it's the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs or the NBA, we have you covered on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Penny Hardaway, University of Memphis coach. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
This franchise seems to have diminishing feelings about receivers. You traded A.J. Brown, you drafted Des Fitzpatrick, you played somebody like Cody Hollister last year. Are you dedicated to the passing game with productive players like you've talked about?
Yeah, of course. We want to be able to throw the ball efficiently, be able to throw the ball down the field, be able to create X plays. And I'm confident that we'll continue to try to work on that, and we'll do it.
That was Mike Vrabel, night 2 of draft night. The Titans step away from the NFL draft with Colton Dowell in the 7th round, their lone receiver in this year's draft class. And I told you this earlier, TD. I love Colton Dowell.
Yeah.
He just has the best personality. I was smiling the whole time I was watching his press conference, but he is a 7th round pick. And this wide receiver room needed a little bit more oomph, a little bit more help, a little bit more support than a 7th round pick. That's not to say that I don't think Colton Dowell can turn into something great. Maybe he can. Absolutely, that's on the table. But as currently constructed, I don't see how this Titans team can go into the season with what they have. Traylon Burks coming into year 2, still questions about what he can be, what he can become. Kyle Phillips coming off of an injury, a 7th round Colton Dowell. We've got a long way to go throughout training camp and throughout OTAs. A lot can change, a lot can happen. The Titans didn't trade for Julio Jones until June, so the calendar still gives them time.
Yeah.
But I'm worried about what is available and what the options are to give this wide receiver room, to give this core the oomph and the support that I think it needs.
Yeah, I don't know that I would place a whole lot of stock in what could be available to you from this point into training camp.
Yeah.
And also the fact that how they're doing the roster cuts, that hurts it too, because you're going from 93 to 90 to 53.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's different from before, where you had levels to where, okay, you know what? Veteran player X is getting beaten out. He was someone that had some really good years for us. We're probably not going to keep him. We definitely don't want to guarantee his contract. So let's go ahead and release him. Maybe he could catch on with someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that now. You know what I mean? Where it's like mandatory to do it. If you have it where, a team is like, hey, I want to give you an opportunity to find something else, then that's different. But for the most part, what's available to you now, Kenny Galladay?
Oh.
You got the injury stuff that he has encountered and just the inconsistency that he had. Jarrett has the thing about Kendrick Bourne, which that would be interesting. 2 years ago, he was an 900-yard receiver, probably not going to make the roster. Like, that's someone I would watch.
Yeah.
But what do you trade for that?
What do you have to trade for
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So you got to hope, okay, he gets released and you could scoop him up. If I was him, I would come here because I would look at, with my agent, look at the different situations, and I'd be like, yeah, I think I could come in and be a factor there quickly.
Slide
you know what I
in
mean?
And probably pencil him in as a wide receiver too.
Right. So that's something. You could go the trade route maybe with Darnell Mooney. I've mentioned that before, but there aren't really a whole lot of options, and the free agency side of it is not that interesting at all. So
it's like every time I'll say, okay, if I think there's a problem, let's see what I would do to solve it. I think the problem is this wide receiver room needs help. Okay, so how can we solve that? Let's look at free agency. Kenny Golladay, like you mentioned, well, he's injured. Jarvis Landry, his best days are probably behind him.
And he and Tannehill, they didn't have a good ending to that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Not besties.
Yeah.
Who hates Ryan Tannehill?
Jarvis Landry,
Jarvis
apparently.
Landry. You know who else?
Who?
Mike Wallace.
Okay.
Mike Wallace can't stand him. Yeah.
Why? He's got beef with Ryan.
He felt Tannehill was not able to get him the ball deep. I remember talking to him about this in Philly before I got here. He's like, man, he hated Tannehill because he felt like, it jeopardized his career and it made him fall short of that big contract.
Maybe he's right.
I don't know, man. Tannehill throws a nice deep ball to me.
That's what we've heard. We've heard he throws a nice deep ball.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not
you
gonna
watch
tell a
it
man
and you
how to
see
feel,
it.
but
Yeah.
but you look at Byron Pringle. No names jump off the page to say, okay, that's a guy that I would be willing to get in contract negotiations with. So free agency, not looking great. Okay, a trade. Well, what do you have to trade? Any valuable trade assets that you have, well, you're not trading them. It's not like this team or this roster is in the capacity to just trade away pieces or to trade away players that they need to rely on. You don't have very many draft picks in this year's upcoming draft. And if this team goes under the same overhaul that I think we all kind of expect, that in 2024 you likely don't have Derrick Henry, or you likely don't have Kevin Byard, you likely don't have Ryan Tannehill, well, you're going to need your draft picks to start replacing those players. So you don't have the draft picks. And then the other pieces that probably, or the other players that could be available that wouldn't cost you a whole lot of money, that wouldn't take a whole lot of draft capital, well, how much are those guys really going to be able to help you?
Right.
I don't see a clear path to how this team gets better at the wide receiver position.
And that's the problem. That's the problem. It just it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you're going to have to rely more on scheme than personnel. X's and O's over the Joes in this case. If they could work that offense the way that they did, now, they didn't have slouches at receiver in 2020 as far as Tim Kelly's concerned at Houston. You had Kiki Kute, who was a pretty solid guy, but more importantly, you had Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks.
Mm-hmm.
That's a much better pairing than what you have right now with the Titans. But still, I think it's going to come down to that scheme. A lot of 12 personnel that is going to Chigakonkwo and Josh Wiley, they're going to have to have a solid role in this passing game. And I think even, you mentioned him going out of the last segment. There's a lot that's going to be put on Kyle Phillips.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And it's just a matter of, can you handle that? Can you be that guy? Because I could see him leading the team in receptions, but Burks leading the team in yards. Because you look, he's going to be that guy that probably have, a whole bunch of receptions, but average like 9 to 10 yards per reception because 3rd and 5, all right, man, you're in the slot, run that jerk route.
Get past the sticks.
Just catch the ball, and hey, if you get extra yards, cool, but we need this first down.
Kyle Phillips more of like your utility receiver. Treylon Burks is a little bit more of your flashy, sexy receiver.
Yeah. It's like it's like Phillips is the F-150, and Burks is the Camaro.
Kyle Phillips gets the job done. Treylon Burks makes SportsCenter top 10.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I view it. I don't see a certified option at wide receiver. Of course, June 1st cuts. Mm-hmm. Who could become available? I don't know. To me, it seems like it's going to be Treylon Burks, Chigakonkwo, Derrick Henry, and Prayer.
And Phillips.
I
think Phillips is going to have a bigger role than we're leading on to. And actually, come to think of it, I remember in one of Rand Carthon's press conferences, he mentioned Phillips as a guy. Mm-hmm. So, I think he's going to have a bigger role.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let's get into your thoughts on this. Your calls, your texts, anything is on the table. The quarterback position, the wide receiver, the position. What in the world are the Titans going to do at wide receiver? All of your questions for TD coming up next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
when it comes to Nashville sports.
Locking up Jeffrey Simmons, clearly that was a priority for them.
He knows his stuff.
A little bit good, a little bit bad.
And knows how to push the right buttons.
He's coming off an ACL tear, and he's 25 years old, so you cannot ignore that.
Join Outkick's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company. Withrow.
What I hate more than anything is people that are phony and not true to themselves.
Is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Want to enter the construction field as a career? Make good money and finish with no debt and earn while you learn. Average starting salary over $18 an hour. First year of college averages $10,000. 4 years of our Construction Trades Academy, a total of $8,000 to $9,600. Applications are open with first-year scholarships available. CTANash.com. ABC Greater Tennessee Construction Trades Academy. Apply today. CTANash.com.
Looking for an engagement ring that'll really knock her socks off? You need to be at Genesis Diamonds.
It's such a privilege at Genesis Diamonds for us to work with the world's finest designers, to be able to offer brands like Tacori and Verragio, and we're excited to be able to give you something nobody else can.
Genesis Vice President David Cooper.
The craftsmanship, the detail, the quality, the individuality is bar none better than anything else.
Genesis has been selected as an exclusive provider for every top designer from New York and California, with over 4,000 rings to choose from. And if that's not enough, they can create something that's truly one of a kind.
We can custom craft you literally anything you can imagine. We have the capabilities to realize any dream you have. Things that other stores may call new, we've been doing for 3, 4, and even 5 years already.
So don't settle for a ring with a stale design or with inferior craftsmanship. Let Genesis help you get the look, the quality, and the value you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs, voted year after year best jewelry store in Nashville.
Music City will be rocking June 23rd through the 25th with a different sound, the sound of NASCAR.
Start your engine!
The Ally 400 is back at Nashville Superspeedway, and this year, it's a night race. NASCAR in Nashville. It's guitars and fast cars under the lights. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to get your tickets for the triple header weekend, including the Ally 400, Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Rackley Roofing 200 today.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. It's that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
They talk sports.
The Predators get the 2 points, which is obviously what they needed.
They're not making big moves that are jaw-dropping signings in free agency.
They talk life.
Well, I almost just fell down the stairs, so there's that.
My backpack was so heavy, the seatbelt alarm was going off the entire trip.
But most of all, they have a good time.
Here or there.
Yeah.
Chase and Michelle, weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Chad Withrow, Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow will join us in 15 minutes. TD, unless you have a thought?
No, to the phone.
Let's get to the phones. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have a thought, Coy in Clarksville texts in, says, TD, do you see the Titans potential lining Josh Wiley out at wide receiver and possibly using Tajay Spears as a Deebo Samuel type of player? Maybe using these two players to make up for the lack of receivers that we do have.
I don't know about a Deebo Samuel type of player, but I could see Spears, you know, in that empty, as I talked about, lining up at receiver, or like even like motioning him out of the backfield into that receiver position. I could see that. Wiley, I would imagine they'll work because he did so much of that at Cincinnati. Like there were a lot of things that he did, so I would imagine they'll just continue that from what he did in college.
I like what I have seen and heard about Josh Riley so far.
Mm-hmm. He's big. Like
he's big.
6'6", 6'7". That's a nice catch radius. Like you could throw it into a crowd and he'll grab it. So that's definitely good. And you look at him in the red zone. I would do a lot with him in the red zone. So I would. Yeah, and it's funny because he drew comparisons to Kobe Fleener, who had played tight end for the Colts, but they would use him a lot in the red zone. And I know the one year Fleener had like 8 or 9 touchdowns, and you get that out of Wiley, you're cooking.
Not the best interview, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think that
not a man of many words,
with
but
comfort,
I can live with that.
Yeah, with comfort that should change up.
Canadian Titan Texan says, does not having a real veteran wide receiver on the Titans hinder Burks' development? A.J. Brown had Corey Davis and Julio Jones, while Treylon Burks has Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Yeah, I think, they have a really good receiver coach that played the position in Rob Moore, so that definitely helps. But, I mean, he wasn't overly productive throughout his career, but Chris Moore is the veteran in the room. So just because he didn't put up big numbers doesn't mean he doesn't have good habits and things that you need to do to be a pro. But also, I think you look at Treylon Burks, what he did as far as being able to realize where he had to get better and attack specifically that, I think he's going to be fine with or without a veteran.
I almost like the idea of Treylon Burks being forced to step into that leader role. That there's not, there is the veteran that you can kind of learn from that's been there before. Maybe he didn't put up the numbers. Maybe he doesn't command the respect or as much respect as a veteran who has put up the numbers. But he at least has somebody who's been there before. But he's the leader in that room. And I think he needs to be. To ascend into that true number one receiver spot, I think that comes on and off the field.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It comes on and off the field. Football is a game that, is not just played on the field. It's also played in your preparation, in your rehab, when I say preparation, talking about playbook-wise, technique-wise, everything. It comes down to all of that. So, yeah, it's important for him to have that approach. And just like Mike Vrabel said, you're a pro even when you're not in the building.
Right.
So that's going to be important for him to continue to do.
Raymond texts in and says, Treylon Burks has to be as good or better than A.J. Brown. You have no true number 2 receiver or any receiver to back defenses off the line.
It just amazes me, this like, addiction to – he has to be a good receiver. He doesn't have to be as good as A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, his rookie year, averaged 20 yards a catch.
Which is insane.
Right. A.J. Brown, over the first 2 years of his career, had more 50-yard touchdown receptions than everybody not named Randy Moss and Odell Beckham Jr. He doesn't have to be A.J. Brown. He could be the best Treylon Burks and be a productive, solid player. That's all you need is him to be a lead receiver. A lead receiver, not A.J. Brown. A lead receiver in this offense.
And that's kind of the essence of the way that I feel about Treylon Burks. I don't need you to show up in the stat sheet on the box score the exact same that A.J. Brown did. Can you bring the same presence? Can you command the same attention? Do you have the same trust and rapport built with whoever's throwing you the football? That's what A.J. Brown was. That's what I want Treylon Burks to be. That's what I think that's what I know Treylon Burks can be. We've seen it. We've seen flashes of it in a Titans uniform. We saw it at Arkansas. I saw him carve up Alabama's defense that 2021 season. We know he can do it.
Yeah.
Another texter texts in, says, do you believe that the Titans think they possibly have a hidden gem on the offensive side at pass catcher that kept them from looking at the free agent market more as far as receivers? Do you feel like they could possibly have a trade in the works for someone to add one more guy?
Maybe a trade, but I don't, it goes back to what we said. There's not much that they could deal from. I think they believe Kyle Phillips is going to be impactful. That's really my thought. I think they believe he's going to be an impactful receiver and a high-volume guy for them, and I firmly believe that. And you look at, this offense is no stranger to making things happen with the slot receiver. I don't remember exactly what numbers he put up, but and I'll look it up real quick as I'm saying this, but I do know Danny Amendola had a couple games specifically against the Titans where he ate. And I'm not saying that Phillips and Amendola are the same player because they're not, but they play that slot position, right? And he was productive, from there, at least in stretches.
That last game of the season 2 years ago, Danny Amendola looked like a freaking all-pro against the Titans. Davis Mills and Danny Amendola were just balling in that last game.
That's finding the matchup and taking advantage of it. They liked him against Elijah Molden, and it wasn't just Molden. There were other corners, that were getting matched up that they were able to do some things with. So, yeah, I mean, I think you look at that, and Phil Phillips, I believe, is a guy that could secret weapon type of thing.
As far as a trade goes, I look at the Denver Broncos. They drafted Marvin Mims. They have Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, and Jerry Jeudy in the room. I wouldn't be surprised if Denver is trying to deal. I would probably pinpoint Jerry Jeudy, but really any of those veteran guys, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, or Cortland Sutton in that room. You don't go out and draft a wide receiver in the second round if you feel like your receiver room is in a good place.
Yeah.
If it's a Cortland Sutton or a Jerry Jeudy, and I know Jerry Jeudy's due a good chunk of change next season, but would you be willing to make a move for either of those two players? Just not thinking about what it would take, but just, the kind of players that they would be.
I mean, yeah, if you're not looking at compensation would be required, yeah, sure.
What do you think it would take?
I think at a minimum like a third or second.
I was going to say minimum second.
Yeah.
For either of those two players.
Yeah, I mean, Jeudy should be up for a contract soon, though, right? I believe.
They just signed him to his 5th-year option, and that's next year.
Right.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
So he's due. I can pull up his contract. I think he's due maybe around 20 next season.
Yeah, I'm not.
20 next, let's see, okay, 2023, he's due just under 3. Okay, 13 next season, and then he's a UFA in 2025. And next season, you're likely off the hook for 3 really large contracts. But is Jerry Jeudy worth it?
Right, that's what I mean.
Like, if you free up all of that money, is Jerry Jeudy going to be the receiver that you signed to that much money?
What's Cortland's? I know Cortland Sutton did a deal. But I don't know that they would – I don't know that Sutton fits this, what they want to do. I'm not going to call him soft, but he doesn't have like that. Yeah. I
doesn't have that dog in him?
Yeah, it's
he's got a big cap hit. Cortland Sutton the next couple of years.
Does he?
Yeah.
17 mil.
Yeah, see.
Base salary of 13. This is his potential out year after this year for his contract. So
yeah, I'm not touching. I'm not touching any of that.
See, that's where I go back to. Okay, the Titans need a receiver. None of them just make enough sense to be able to do it, to be able to pull the trigger.
It's a bad time to need a receiver.
It is a bad time to need a receiver.
Even pre-free agency, it was. I mean, that's why you got Alan Lazard getting paid and Jacoby Myers getting paid because they're the top of the food chain, so to speak. And
right.
Yeah.
Indy Ben texts into the text line, says, I think you're underestimating the improved competition in the Titans division. Houston will without a doubt be better with an actual quarterback and a top pass rush player in Anderson. I'm not going to say that they're without a doubt going to be better. They've got a rookie quarterback under center. Who's their best receiver? Robert Woods?
Yeah, nobody's underestimating the division. It's the fact of the matter is it's not as strong as the other.
It's a crap division.
I mean, who's under? Okay, the AFC North.
Good luck.
You got the Bengals, Ravens, Steelers and Browns. I don't know, but Bengals, Ravens. And the Steelers, they always find a way because they got one of the best coaches in the league.
But the Steelers are kind of the bottom half of the division. That just goes to show how good of a division that really is.
And we're not even going to get into the AFC West. So, I mean, AFC South, AFC East. Like, the AFC South is the worst or the least threatening of the 4 divisions. I mean, it's just a fact.
The AFC South and the NFC South are the 2 weakest divisions in the NFL.
Yeah.
Point blank.
I mean, teams have made improvement, but that doesn't mean that you put them on the same scale as the East, the North, and the West. No.
Yeah, it's a bad division.
They're still rookie quarterbacks. They're high picks. They're talented. It's going to take a minute.
They're
It's
still
gonna take a
rookie
while.
quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Exactly. And still with Anthony Richardson. I don't know if this is just going to be a throwaway season for Indianapolis. You run it with Gardner Minshew. You let Anthony Richardson go in there whenever you feel comfortable. And then, you move forward with Anthony Richardson whenever you feel comfortable that his development is in the place where it needs to be. But I'm not looking at Indianapolis, but add Anthony Richardson, and all of a sudden this season they're a Super Bowl contender.
Mhm.
Let's get one quick thought before we go to Chad Withrow. Jason is on the line with a thought on the receivers. What's up, Jason?
Hey, thanks for taking the call real quick. I think we're barking about a whole lot of nothing. Tannehill's always been at his best throwing in between the numbers, and back in 2019, and one of his better seasons, it was all about the tight ends. It just appears to me that they're setting him up for that type of success again. They understand who he is, and they're giving him the personnel around that he feels comfortable with. And, I just believe we have enough in that department. What we needed to do was address the offensive line, and we probably actually need one more there, but we've done the best we could with the draft picks that we've had. As far as offensive line, I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to be, if not the top team in the South, we're going to be right there with Jacksonville, pushing for it as long as we stay healthy. And I believe we would have gotten it last year if Tannehill hadn't fallen out.
I would agree with you on that, and I appreciate your optimism, Jason. Thank you for your call.
Yeah, well, Jason, here's the thing. I mean, look, you asked me about the receivers, and what did I say? You're going to see a lot of 12 personnel, sometimes 13 personnel.
Heavily on the tight ends.
Tannehill, so since becoming the starter, he has targeted A.J. Brown more than anyone else, first of all. After that, it was Jonnu Smith. So you look at the time where he had those two, he was without a doubt going a lot more to A.J. Brown. And Jason said across the middle. Well, guess what play is across the middle? Play action, strike route.
And that is his bread and butter.
That is something that they throw to ad nauseum. So, yeah, he does like to work the middle of the field.
Yeah.
You could have receivers work the middle of the field. I personally think that you would like for it to be, hey, at least one more serious threat, but I think they're okay as far as what they're going to do on offense with what they have. And, again, that's going back to Kyle Phillips being a guy. He's going to have to really develop to be a guy like he was in that Giants game.
Chad Withrow, Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow will join us coming up next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has an all-star lineup Monday through Friday. Batting first at 6 a.m., it's Robbie and Rexroad.
Yeah, you take that. You take that. Take me 80% of that.
Followed by Chase and Michelle at 9.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I need my caffeine so much.
Then it's Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace at 11.
Yep, green light, let's go.
You've got a lot of options. He say, she say. And bringing it home at 2, Jared Stillman for Stillman and Company.
That guy will be a good coach.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. RAMP.com/sports.
Join the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce on June 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th for an exclusive look into what makes Nashville the IT city. Whether you're new to town or a Nashville native, Intro Nashville gives you the opportunity to become engaged and connected to our city's community. During this multi-day immersive program, you'll hear from over 20 community leaders and industry experts whose storytelling unlocks a comprehensive view of our city and region. Gain historical and economic perspective on Nashville while establishing relationships with local business leaders. Space is limited. Register now at intronash.com.
We were made to build our world from scratch. Born with a curiosity that never quits. And wired with what it takes to get the job done. All we need is the right set of tools. Northern Tool and Equipment is a problem solver's paradise. There's nothing we can't find, fix, or figure out together. We're made for this. Start solving your projects today at northerntool.com.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. We begin with some sad news in the sporting world. Hall of Fame running back Jim Brown has passed away at the age of 87. There is a bunch more sports action on the docket for tonight. Coming up on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, we are full with some playoff hockey. Starting at 6:30, we have coverage of the Milwaukee Admirals, the AHL affiliate of the Nashville Predators, as they take on the Texas Stars in Game 4 of their playoff series. Following that, we'll have Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Western Conference Final between Vegas and Dallas. On our sister station, 94.9 The Fan, the Nashville Sounds are back in action versus Durham. Coverage begins at 5:20. Then, at the conclusion of the Sounds, we will have some NBA playoff action as the Boston Celtics are looking to even the Eastern Conference Finals versus the Miami Heat in Game 2. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Bobby and Rex Road. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willie, D-Bay.
Stillman and Company. Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 1063.
Cranks it, he scores.
On both sides of the ball. One big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We're live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. And joining us now is Hot Mike from Hutton Withrow's very own Chad Withrow. Chad, really looking forward to talking about the Milwaukee Admirals with you. I know you've been shaking in your boots getting the opportunity to talk about the Avs.
I have so many thoughts right now, Caroline. First off, the name of the show should be Fenton and Company. While you're filling in, I think you can just override Jared on that just for one day.
I think that's fair.
Change the name of the show to reflect your last name, right? I think that's totally fair for us to do. And, yeah, I am super psyched about getting into all the Milwaukee Admirals talk. Look, I'm not going to go as extreme as Jared did, but I do think that, like, minor league sports, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to plead ignorance here. Is it the Calder Cup? Is that what they're going for?
It is the Calder Cup, yes.
Okay. So I don't know the significance of the Calder Cup. Obviously, I'm having to ask you to name check what the name of the trophy is. So I don't know a lot about it. But to me, the goal of minor league sports has always been twofold. One, entertain the people that are at the game, whether that be minor league baseball, minor league hockey, whatever. And two, prepare players for the big club. It's all about development. It's not about wins and losses. I never knew that big baseball teams in Major League Baseball were monitoring specifically the win-loss record of the players in AAA or AA below them. I didn't know that was a thing also in the NHL. So basically I'm pleading ignorance here, but I will say I never knew that really caring about wins and losses in the minor league as a fan, now the players should obviously try to win and all that good stuff.
Of course.
But as a fan, I never knew that was a thing.
Well, I think maybe pleading ignorance and pleading the fifth is sometimes the safest option. But yeah, to your point, I mean, I love a Nashville Sounds game. The baseball is great, but the environment's great. It's an excuse to go out, have fun, do something. I mean, that's really the best part about it. I think a lot of minor leagues know that people don't necessarily go for the competition, but they go to have a good time, an excuse to do something, an excuse to grab a beer. But I'm totally kidding. That's not the reason why we had you on the show today, but appreciate you for joining us regardless, Chad.
Caroline, you great point. Have you ever gone to a Nashville Sounds game and in the 6th or 7th inning, when you're 5 beers deep, have you thought to yourself, man, the Sounds really need to knock this runner home in scoring position so they can tie this thing up?
If I'm really 5 beers deep, I can think some crazy things. I'll give you that.
That's true. Maybe you're like the opposite. Most people drink and stop caring about the sporting event in front of them. Maybe you drink and start caring more about the Nashville Sounds outcome when you're at the game. So you could be the exception and not the rule.
I drink, and maybe the families around us are like, hey, let's get away from this crazy lady. Like, she needs to stop yelling about the shortstop, making sure that he's making the plays that he needs to make.
Let's hit the parking lot in the 5th inning instead of the 7th, like our previous plan, because this lady is annoying me.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get out. It's a school night, kids. Come on, let's get home. Chad Withrow is with us. Hot Mic with Hunt and Withrow. Withrow, we heard from some of the returners and some of the new guys on the team, Dan Brunskill, Aziz Al-Shair. But I think the biggest thing that really stood out to me when we heard from some of the returning Titans players was Treylon Burks saying, the asthma is better. I've been eating better. I feel a lot better. And while I do feel like that probably is maybe the minimum of what to expect is, a guy in his second year coming back and being in good shape, it was incredibly encouraging for me to hear that Treylon Burks is at least coming back in year 2, coming in a much, much better spot than he was in year 1. What do you think could be the ceiling and the floor for Treylon Burks? And kind of how does that reflect the Titans ceiling and floor?
Yeah, I like the awareness that he came in with to at least acknowledge when asked about it that things were not right a year ago, or he couldn't finish a single drill when he first got there.
I mean, you can't ignore it.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm sure he does have asthma or, allergies are an issue, and that I've got asthma and I've got allergies too, and I'll be the first to tell you that my asthma and allergies are far worse when I'm fat and out of shape. So that's probably the case with professional athletes as well. And he came in out of shape. I mean, it's not an indictment on his whole career. He got in shape, and he was ultimately fine for the Titans. So I like the self-awareness to come in and at least acknowledge that with some of the comments I read from Treylon Burks. I don't want to make this whole segment about, reaction to stuff that Jared has said during the week, but I did catch the Jared versus Joe segment on Wednesday that you were mediating. You're the mediator of that?
That's a nice way to put it.
That's the best way to, you're the mediator. And I heard the end of the discussion on Treylon Burks on whether or not Treylon Burks has as much talent as A.J. Brown and can replace him. I find it to be an interesting debate on that because he definitely has the physical talent and the skill set to be as good as A.J. Brown. But if we're judging first years, there's no way that you can say, well, Treylon Burks, I feel confident he's going to be A.J. Brown just based off the first year. Now, I can also make the argument that I think Jared was making that, physically, when I saw him in Arkansas, and some of the things that he could do. The thinking from John Robinson was, I'm going to go draft a bigger, younger version of A.J. Brown that came from an SEC West school that caught a lot of touchdowns, that can go up and get it. I'm going to draft that guy and bring him in. I understand the desire and the thinking behind bringing in Treylon Burks, or, I guess I wouldn't have done it, but feeling good enough to trade away A.J. Brown. But if I'm just comparing first year to first year, and I can't compare it to A.J. Brown's whole career. I understand that with Burks. I don't know how you can say that Burks is going to turn into A.J. Brown. Now, he might, but I think you're wishing on a hope and a star a little bit if you think that he's going to be A.J. Brown, just comparing their first years in the league.
And Chad Withrow is with us. The first years are incredibly different. I mean, I think it's putting it incredibly lightly and maybe kindly to say that Treylon Burks' first season with the Tennessee Titans left much to be desired. And I hear a lot of this thought of, it's not fair to compare A.J. Brown and Treylon Burks. And I understand part of that is like Treylon Burks didn't ask the Tennessee Titans to trade away A.J. Brown and draft him, but that is what happened. So I do think to a certain extent, you kind of have to compare the two. And it may be water under the bridge. John Robinson, the person that made that decision, he got fired for it. Or that's one of the reasons why. But I don't think it's an incredibly unfair comparison just given the direction of the franchise. I understand the line of thinking, kind of the Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson kind of line of thinking. Trade away Stephon Diggs, we draft his replacement. His replacement ends up being better and cheaper and younger and more healthy than the guy that we initially traded away. But I think to a certain extent, you kind of have to compare, right?
It's absolutely fair, and it is a comparison that you got to make. And I didn't compare to A.J. Brown because A.J. Brown was a second-round pick. Traylon Burks is a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
So when you trade away that production, and he didn't ask for it. I mean, I guess the unfair part is Traylon Burks didn't, pick up the phone from John Robinson and say, hey, I know you're thinking about drafting me, but I'd really like to trade away A.J. Brown in order to do that. It's not like he asked for A.J. Brown to be dealt. But from the outsider perspective and just looking at this team and observing, you got to compare the two. One was a second-round pick that delivered above and beyond what you would normally expect from the value of a second-round pick. And he did so immediately. I said it before. The thinking is I'm going to get a slightly bigger and possibly younger and better version of A.J. Brown that's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper. So the moment that the Titans drafted him, whether he wanted it or not, or asked for it or not, doesn't matter. These are the responsibilities and the pressure that comes with being a pro athlete in the top league in the sports universe in the NFL. So, yes, I think everyone should compare Traylon Burks to A.J. Brown. That's always going to be the comparison. And, look, that was going to be the comparison for John Robinson. That's why he got fired. The moment he pulled the trigger on that deal, we knew that he was ultimately going to be judged by how well that trade ended up working out because he put all of his chips on the table. He had failed first-round pick after first-round pick in previous drafts, and we knew that he was going to be judged by how that trade turned out, and it did not turn out well. And then he lost his job, and now the comparison just shifts to Traylon Burks and A.J. Brown moving forward. Traylon Burks has to be the guy at receiver for this franchise. There's no doubt about it.
Chad, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but true or false? You hate Will Levis.
Yeah, I don't want to say hate. Hate's a strong word, right? I hate that the Titans drafted him. I do not like him as a player. Yeah, probably I hate him as a player. I'll go ahead and say hate. I hate him as a player. Don't hate him as a guy. Hutton may have said this on your show, but he met him at Topgolf and told a great story about meeting him, where he goes up and he says, hey, was honest with him, said, I've been negative and been down on the Titans draft and wanted to introduce myself. And he said, don't worry about it. Everybody's been crushing me. So I do like that sense of humor in Will Levis. He also likes the movie Step Brothers and the show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So I feel like he's sort of my spirit animal from a personality standpoint. I don't put mayo in my coffee. I don't eat bananas with the peel on it. So I don't want to say I hate the guy because I think personality-wise I might get along with him. But I do hate the fact the Titans drafted him, and I don't think he's going to be a very good NFL quarterback.
Okay, why? And also, who doesn't love Step Brothers and It's Always Sunny? Classics.
Oh, amazing shows, yes. If you don't, then I would recommend. If you haven't seen those, I'd recommend everyone go watch those. I don't think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback because I saw him make too many bad decisions at Kentucky. I think physically he definitely has what it takes. He's got a strong arm. He can run a little bit. I think he's careless with his body. I think that cost him, some of the injuries that he took while at Kentucky. I think he played the game. He reminds me a bit of Matt Corral when he was at Ole Miss, a bigger version of that, where Matt Corral, I think he grew up playing middle linebacker. And I remember Lane Kiffin in a quote talking about how he played the game like a middle linebacker. And he was constantly battling shoulder injuries and different issues throughout his career. Will Levis has a little bit of that also. I think he's got a little bit of Brett Favre in him. Brett Favre's a Hall of Famer. But I don't think Will Levis has that level of Brett Favre in him. I think it's the bad part of Brett Favre where he's not necessarily going to see things at times or try to force it. And in today's NFL, I don't think that works. I just think that he is an interception at the wrong time waiting to happen as an NFL quarterback.
And that's what concerns me a bit about Will Levis is he's got all the things that I don't think you can coach. He's a good leader, at least from everything that I've heard, and all of his coaches and teammates in college have said he's a great leader. He's a hard worker, first guy in, last guy out kind of mentality. But the decision-making at Kentucky, specifically this past season, it is concerning to me, especially considering how this team's season ended in 2021. It was at the hands of a quarterback turning the football over. But what do you need to see from Will Levis? Either now in this offseason, throughout the rest of the season, to change your mind, to maybe not hate him so much as a player?
Look, there is nothing I can see this offseason that made me change my mind. I think the whole him in rookie minicamp with no pass rush, making one good throw that everybody wants to put out on social media is completely overblown, ridiculous. Who cares? Any quarterback could go out there and roll out and drop one in a bucket one time. About that at all. He's going to have to start early for this team. If I see him get in games, and look, I'm not expecting perfection or him to come out and win Rookie of the Year. Let's say he starts. Let's say the Titans start. I think not the start of their schedule is not going to be pretty. Let's say they start 2-4, and they go into the bye. I believe it's that week, and then they come back and Will Levis is the starter. I just need to see signs that he's a good decision maker, that he understands the offense, and that we see little sprinkles of that arm strength, that arm talent, and athleticism that we've been promised. Here's the thing you see with Will Levis, and I've watched a ton of the games at Kentucky. Made some good throws, yes. But all you hear about him is, you see the video of him at the Manning Passing Academy, throwing the ball from his knees to 50 and hitting the goalpost. That's all great. You hear about the arm strength. But I didn't see a ton of just wow throws from that guy. And it doesn't have to be a 90-mile-per-hour laser to be a wow throw. Bryce Young is a good example of this. Bryce Young made about 17 wow throws in one game against Tennessee, in a game they lost this year. I saw that time and time again from Bryce Young. There's a difference between arm strength and pure arm talent and throwing ability. Bryce Young has that. I haven't seen that as much from Will Levis. I see a guy who can throw the ball through a brick wall, but not someone who's got that level of arm talent. I need to see a little bit more of that.
Bryce Young is just so good. I just love watching him. Last one for you, Chad, before we get to the next segment. There's a lot of national talk about how bad people think the Titans are going to be. And all of the power rankings, the offseason power rankings, the Titans are usually, third to last, fourth to last, fifth to last. Looking at Vegas's win totals, the Tennessee Titans are hovering right around 7 or 8 wins. Basically, nobody expects the Titans to do anything worthwhile this season. Do you agree?
Well, they're just irrelevant again, nationally. I don't think they're one of the worst teams in the league. I don't buy anyone that says, their roster is one of the worst 2 or 3. I don't see that. I think they're very middle of the line, very mediocre. And with a market like Nashville, a team like the Tennessee Titans that doesn't have the biggest national fan base or following, the moment you give the national football media a chance to check out on you, well, they'll do so in a hurry. Someone just knocked the lights out on the way out of the road. They don't care about the Titans anymore. The moment the Titans lost to Jacksonville in that win-and-in game in the final week of the season with Josh Dobbs at quarterback, of all things, that gave them a chance against Trevor Lawrence, not the Jags' best performance. But when they lost that game and didn't win the division again and didn't get to the playoffs, I felt like it was a collective lights turning out on the Titans from the national media. It's very expected when that happens. So none of that surprised me. So to answer your question, Caroline, no, I don't buy the extreme take that they're some really bad NFL team and the roster's not good. I think they're just okay, and they're probably just okay enough to go 8-9 or 7-10 and not get in the playoffs. And I think that's what the national media, most of them, are saying. But the moment that happens and they're middle of the pack to below, people just check out on the Titans naturally.
I think it could be 7-10. I think it could be 11-6. And I'm so confused about what to think about this team right now. But coming up next with Chad, some conference realignment talk. Is this the end of the ACC? We'll get into that with Chad coming up next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Go, guys, a wrister. Score! The Predators of tomorrow continue in the AHL playoffs with Game 4. Admirals and Stars starts at 6, then check out Game 1 of the Western Conference Final as the Dallas Stars head to Vegas.
On your home for Smash Nashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now through Memorial Day, get fantastic deals at Electronic Express. Get a Hisense 65-inch 4K TV for just $349, or an Amanda laundry pair for $399 each. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department: computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture and mattresses, and more. Don't miss out on a Vio laptop for just $499, or Nintendo Switch bundles as low as $429. Shop in-store or online with up to 36 months free financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
What's up, everybody? Teron Davenport here for Superbook Sports. Bring that big bet energy this summer with Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports is the most trusted name in sports betting. And right now, use promo code THEGAME to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they'll match your first bet up to $250 with promo code THEGAME. Simply visit superbook.com for terms and conditions or download the Superbook Tennessee app in the app stores. Enter promo code THEGAME and you'll get $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hi, I'm Buddy Teaster, the CEO at Souls for Souls. We're a global not-for-profit based here in Nashville, and we provide shoes and clothing to people across the world. We're joining forces with 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament on June 7th at the Hermitage Golf Course. A portion of the proceeds from the tournament will provide new shoes to children experiencing homelessness right here in Nashville. Hope you'll join us for an afternoon of fellowship and fun, all in support of a great cause. Go to thegamenashville.com/golf for more information and to register.
Get ready for the power of Godsmack on their new world tour with special guest I Prevail, May 23rd, First Bank Amphitheater. Featuring songs from their new album, Lighting Up the Sky. On sale now. Buy tickets at livenation.com. Part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
Real estate investors, listen up. D&M Development announces the pre-sale of Nashville's only non-owner occupied short-term rental resort community. The New Cumberland is perfectly located between Germantown and East Nashville, with amazing views of the city and the Cumberland River. The New Cumberland is a resort-style community featuring community pools, spacious kitchens, 4 bedrooms, and 4 baths. D&M Development is releasing 16 units in their Phase 1. Available now. Go to thenewcumberland.com for information. That's thenewcumberland.com.
You enjoy the thrill of gambling, but what happens when it becomes a problem? Whether you want to cut back or quit gambling altogether, the Gambling Clinic has been helping people change their gambling for over 2 decades. We're here to help, not to judge. The Gambling Clinic is a Tennessee-based clinic offering in-person and telehealth support to help people win back their life. Visit us at thegamblingclinic.com. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Chad Withrow from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow is with us now. Chad, there's been a whole lot of talk about Florida, the Magnificent Seven, which I'm just going to say right here, I'm never saying that again. I feel like such a goober when I say the Magnificent Seven. It sounds like a ride at Disney World.
Yeah, we got to come up with something different. It's a little too dramatic.
Surely they could have workshopped something a little bit better.
What is it the kids say extra? It's a little bit extra.
It is a little bit extra. You're so right.
Yes.
It's so dramatic. But anyways, the 7 teams in the ACC who have kind of used the scare tactic of we're looking at the grant of rights, we're looking at what it would take to pull away from the ACC, even though the ACC has their agreement with ESPN through 2036. Do you think that this is something, an imminent end to the ACC, or is it really just a scare tactic?
I think it could be both. First off, it's definitely a scare tactic. That could also lead to it being the end of the ACC.
Fair.
But here's the problem with the ACC, and Jim Phillips recognized this. He's not – Jim Lee's a smart guy and a good commissioner, and he's not ducking anything. He said, look, we got a situation where there are two conferences that have the best deal, and there's a big gap to number 3. We're number 3 in terms of media deals right now. We're the third conference. We have to figure out a way to close that gap with the other two. The problem is when you've got a grant of rights deal that, is going to lead up until, I think, my daughter who's in elementary school is going to be out of college, I feel like, until the thing is up. That's a problem. I don't know how you go back to the negotiating table and then rework that thing and have anyone listen to you, especially when ESPN is laying off a ton of people and the media landscape's a little bit shaky right now in sports media and what rights fees are going to look like in different sports moving forward. So he's acknowledging all the right things and saying the right things, but there's nothing they can do to close the gap with the Big Ten and the SEC, at least right now. So that I'm not going to say the Magnificent Seven, but those 7 schools, they're doing everything they can to possibly, use the leverage they have, and that is to try to band together and get more money out of the ACC. And I don't know how that's going to work either. I don't know how if you're one of the other schools in the ACC, you just accept that as fair play and say, well, I guess this is what it takes. We're going to get the low end of everything just so we can say that we're a Power 5 conference and stay in the ACC. So they're very much on shaky ground right now, and there's always that impending doom of while the Big Ten and SEC are not actively trying to add members, and I believe that they're not, any of these schools could just apply for membership at any point in time, and the SEC or the Big Ten could decide to have some fatality about it and just go ahead and accept them and let them in, and that would be the end of the ACC.
And I think, Greg Sankey's come out and said, we're not interested in adding more teams, but we're not interested in adding more teams right now, and we'll reevaluate if more opportunities come up to us. But let's say, I do think that there is where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's a whole lot of smoke here. And I do think right now it is just a scare tactic, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that Florida State, Clemson, NC State, UNC, so on and so forth, do ultimately find a way to break away from the ACC. If that does come to fruition, which schools do you think make the most sense to the SEC?
Well, first off, it's plausible deniability for Greg Sankey, right? When you word it that way and say we're not currently actively looking to add schools, you're being honest at that point. But the caveat is, if you end up adding some schools, you say, well, we weren't actively looking to add schools, but they applied, and then I took it to the board and we considered it and decided to let them in. So you can kind of get away from it if they end up adding schools. The ones that make the most sense to me, I look at everything from a football perspective, first and foremost, because football is driving the bus. I think North Carolina, Florida State, Clemson. I think geography matters also. I think Virginia has some appeal because that would get the SEC in the state of Virginia where the currently are. Clemson is the most, if I just said, and you know this, Caroline, having gone to an SEC school and seen a lot of SEC environments, what are the most SEC schools in the ACC? I think it's very clearly Clemson,
Florida State. Yeah.
Yeah, because Clemson especially, I mean, they are really out of place because from a football game day perspective, atmosphere, the school and where it's in terms of academics, everything about it, their culture, it screams SEC. Florida State's got a lot of that also, especially from a football perspective. So those are the two that make the most sense culturally. I think just brand-wise and location and geography, to me, North Carolina and Virginia also make a ton of sense for the SEC. And when you get another academically elite school to go along with Vanderbilt that you add as well. North Carolina's a really good state school also. So it helps your at least, not that any of this truly matters, but at least they can put it in the press release and try to convince people they really care about it. It makes it look like, oh, the SEC is also upping their academic profile by adding two of those brands.
Which, of course, we know there are 14 member schools of the SEC that are very robust academic institutions, of course, as we both know, being graduates of SEC institutions.
Oh, the Ivy League, they've called LSU and Tennessee sort of like Ivy League South, right?
Harvard of the Bayou.
We know. We know all about academic excellence, no doubt about it.
Yeah, spending plenty of hours in the library. Chad Withrow is with us. And speaking of your alma mater, release coming out from the University of Tennessee, plans to build the Neyland Entertainment District. And I think that this is a great idea. I think it's incredibly cutting edge that the University of Tennessee kind of wants to integrate a little bit more nightlife into the game experience. What was your reaction when you saw the plans for the Neyland Entertainment District?
My first reaction was, huh? Because I was thinking about, I didn't see the drawing. So they said between, and I know the campus really well, obviously, between Neyland and Thompson Bowling. And I'm thinking, that right now is the G10 parking garage. And then there's another, there's like a humanities type building on campus. And there's another paved parking lot. And then it goes over close to the Neyland Thompson Sports Center. On the edge of it, where are they going to put all of that? And then I saw it, on top of G10 parking garage, it's going to be kind of a tabletop extension that looks out to the river. I think that part of it's brilliant. Danny Whiting said in his release something about having a better relationship physically with the river on campus.
Interesting way to put it.
Overlooks the Tennessee River. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, borderline exciting when I heard about it. But when you look at it and you think about the view from what it could be on top of it, the hotel idea is really interesting. I think it's something that people will want to stay in, even not on game weekends, right, just to see what it's like. If you've got a room that overlooks Neyland Stadium and you can look at the river on the other side. Look, it's a good idea. Anything like that, though, is going to have to work year-round. I think putting something physically on campus that's also going to be enticing for students at Tennessee to visit and frequent year-round could be profitable for those business owners that have a part of it, because let's face it, it's got to be something that is more than just a 6-7 weekends or basketball games to that a year type experience. And I think if they do it right, they can pull it off, and it could be a year-round type destination spot, or at least for students at Tennessee that they could make it a Friday or Saturday night. After hearing more about it, I like it. But I do think there's a chance that they don't pull it off the right way, and it comes across as cheesy. And the last thing you want to be is cheesy.
I do think it could have like a boom or bust potential, that this could either be the prototype for other schools around the country to build their own kind of Battery or Wrigleyville, or it could be, oh, wow, look at that like weird restaurant over there that's kind of in bad shape. We don't want to go there.
Yeah, it could be like, oh, look, there's a Bubba Gump Shrimp Company right next to Neyland Stadium. This is ridiculous. If you got the right, like, I think it's kind of like the development over here, Fifth and Broad.
Right.
They got some Nashville-centric places to go in there to mix in with some chains. I think if you did it right and got some Knoxville, University of Tennessee type bar restaurant spots, if there was another Cool Beans, let's say, that was a Cool Beans Neyland. You get places like that are iconic in the city, and you can have an extension of it there. Then I think it makes more sense. But there's also, as we know, Caroline, the possibility for Bubba Gump Shrimp on top of it, and Hooters and places like that. Not that those places are bad, especially if they're sponsoring the station, but you want something that's more of a Knoxville feel and not just chainy, for lack of a better word.
Totally understand. We love bubblegum. We love Hooters. Chad Withrow, Hot Mike with Hutt and Withrow. Also, Coach Withrow, good luck to your softball team tonight. We'll chat with you next week, Chad.
It's a big weekend in the 8U softball tournament. So the Little Red Sox will do their best this weekend. It was great talking with you, Caroline. Always good to hear your voice. You continue to crush it on this station. And Jared's got some big shoes to fill whenever he gets back from doing whatever it is he's doing. Probably preparing to go to Milwaukee to watch the Admirals win the Calder Cup. That's what I'm guessing he's doing. Thanks so much,
exactly
Caroline.
What he's doing. Hit the nail on the head. Appreciate you, Chad. All right, that was Chad Withrow from Hot Mike with Hutt and Withrow. Coming up next, we'll continue the conference expansion conversation. What's next for the ACC? Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Fireball Hot Take Friday is presented by Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. That's right. It's the weekend. It means it's time to celebrate. It means it's time to rejoice. Whether you're hanging out with your friends or whatever it may be, there's no better time to enjoy Fireball Whiskey than right now. That's right. Be sure to enjoy ice-cold Fireball Whiskey, either in the shot form or grab yourself a bottle. That's Fireball Whiskey. Ignite the night. Please do it responsibly and be 21 years or older to enjoy Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey.
All the big plays.
For the win!
Vanderbilt wins it! All the big stories.
Quarterback carousel. What the Titans decide to do at the quarterback position.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
10% chance of making the playoffs.
Checkered flag is in the team with incredible talent.
Every team in the league.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
How can a half-carat diamond magically grow into a 2-carat diamond? With Genesis Diamond's 110% diamond upgrade guarantee.
Our trade-up policy is the best in the United States.
That's Stasia at Genesis, explaining how if you buy a diamond today and want to trade it in for a bigger one next year, Genesis always gives you back your original purchase price plus an extra 10%.
We will gladly give you every single penny you paid for the diamond plus an extra 10%, which is amazing. No one does that.
As a real-life example, take Stasia's customer Paul.
When he first started, he got a half carat, and then as he became more successful, we rewarded him. He came in and he got a 3/4 carat, and then he's traded for a carat. I'm sure I'll see him this year for a carat and a half. As they grow and change and become more successful, their engagement ring can grow with them also.
And there's no catch, no minimum trade-up requirement, and it works on diamond studs and diamond pendants as well.
You get every single investment dollar you put into the diamond, you will get an extra 10% towards the new diamond.
Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
You can trade as many times as you wish.
Continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy, classic wings. Made to order, cooked to perfection. And sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. And of course, spicy Cajun fried corn. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
Seems like everything costs more these days. Food, utilities, medical costs, you name it. But as prices go up, our family budget stays the same. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available. Start saving today at fbhp.com or visit your local Farm Bureau office.
Hello there. My name is Seychelle, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is the punch of flavors that's unlike any other. You get the crispy tenderness of the chicken and that hint of sourness from the pickles. Ta-da!
Hey, I'm Juan, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is you're going to get chicken that's crispy, golden, and juicy. This is the gold standard of chicken sandwiches.
Order the original Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real customers paid for their testimonials.
Meet Joe A, Hi. Joe B,
Hello.
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with autosave. And Joe C one
bank. Mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
The choice is yours. Wednesdays at 8:45. Brought to you by Jarrett Companies. Now hiring experienced sprinkler experts. Go to jarrettfire.com. JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, a company above and beyond industry standards.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, I'm Gary Smith, head coach of Nashville SC. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Appreciate Chad Withrow for joining us in the last segment. Let's get to some of your thoughts here. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Elliot Texan asked TD, what does Jacob Copeland look like in training camp?
That's a good question. Didn't really get to see much. He had one catch, but I mean, here's the thing: like we can't really report. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So he did have a catch, I will say that, but I can't really say much more than that. And he's someone, along with Kearis Jackson, that, the late addition, we're going to be looking to see how those guys are able to be able to make a mark, because they do have, as a rookie, undrafted free agent, this is an organization I would sign with as a receiver. So they do have a shot to make the roster.
One texter texts in, asks TD, what do you think is more likely? Malik Willis is on another team this season, or the Titans carry 3 quarterbacks?
I think they carry 3 quarterbacks.
I would agree.
I think they do that. It's a little bit of an anomaly, but I think they do.
Why is it such an anomaly?
Because, well, I know it used to be because you had the rule.
Yeah, right.
But I think now is just, you go into it like, man, I got these 2 guys, I'm good.
And if we need to reevaluate, we can reevaluate.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where you rarely go through 2 quarterbacks. Unless, you're like the Miami Sharks
right.
or the San Francisco 49ers.
Put a running back in at quarterback in the NFC Championship.
Yeah. Miami Sharks, they ended up with Willie Beeman, in that game. But that's the movie, Any Given Sunday. But, yeah, it's just not something that you see a lot of teams doing.
And I think that you look at the 49ers, and we can always use that example, the 49ers this past season, to say, well, you should carry 3 quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. But also in that same breath, I think that is very much so the exception and not the rule.
Yeah.
That you go through your first, your second, and your third string quarterback, and then you're putting the running back in.
Yeah.
Got Titans OTAs coming up this upcoming week. What are our expectations? What do we want to see from OTAs? We'll get into that coming up next. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Family Leisure's 31st Memorial Day sale.
DIY pools start at just $19.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99 installed. 6 months, same as cash.
Great prices on spas and hot tubs. The Cypress Spa by Strong is only $29.99.
I want some new patio furniture. Family Leisure has hundreds of sets on sale.
The Sabre Infrared Grill starts at only $11.99. Complete Bull Grill Island start at only $39.99. Installed with a Sabre grill head. Tanning beds, pool tables, massage chairs on sale now.
Family Leisure, 2 huge locations, Antioch and Franklin.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. It's that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
For more than a century, AM radio has evolved to meet the needs of our community. In their car, at home, or on the job, more than 80 million listeners depend on AM radio each month. AM radio is also the backbone of the emergency alert system, which keeps us safe in dangerous times. It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops. We've been serving golfers since 1968. Let us help you find the hottest gear from bags, balls, shoes, and apparel. All in stock at the best prices. Come in and test drive the latest arrivals from Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping, and more. While you're there, get custom fit by one of our golf experts. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop us in store or online at edwinwattsgolfshops.com.
Imagine you're looking at a balancing scale with everything you do for other people on one side and everything you do for yourself on the other side. If it isn't balanced, maybe it's time to spend a little more time on you. And therapy is a great place to start. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online who can help you find that balance and stick to it. Visit betterhelp.com/score to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/score.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing a wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer WetJet. With Swiffer WetJet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer WetJet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
As long as he wants to coach there, he will be able to coach there.
I think that really did save the hope of this team.
Michelle and Junie, presented by Superbook Sports, every Saturday morning at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game in the Game Nashville app. Appreciate TD for hanging out with me. Jared Stillman has the day off today. TD, Titans hit the practice field on Tuesday for OTAs. We're going to hear from coordinators. We'll get some players. We'll hear from Vrabel as well. What is the number one thing that you are going into OTAs looking for, wanting to see, wanting to hear, so on and so forth?
I just want to see the operation of the offense because we keep hearing the tempo and the speed and firing off the ball. So I want to see how they operate that, how they go about maintaining that tempo and that speed. I want to watch Will Levis, how he's able to get in and out of the huddle because that's something that he had mentioned, how there's similar concepts and things like that, but it's a different terminology and stuff. So I want to see how he's doing as far as, and I always think of the Chris Sims clip where John Gruden he went bonkers on him because Sims couldn't relay the play in the huddle, and he was just going crazy. He was like, "Get him out of here! Get somebody else in there." I want to see how Levis is able to handle that. So those are the things, man. Harold Landry, hopefully he's there and we get to see.
Forget about Harold Landry.
Yeah.
There are certain nuggets that I go into every season of, oh my gosh, I've heard that's a net positive. Away from free agency, away from the draft. It's almost like a freebie. It's like when I find money in my Venmo account. It's like, oh yeah.
Right.
I have that there. That's how I feel with Kyle Phillips and Harold Landry as well.
Absolutely. And, with Phillips, he has said he wanted to thicken out a little bit. So I want to see how his build is and everything and how he's moving with that. So those are some of the things, man. Is Kevin Byard there? Want to see that. Is Christian Fulton there? Want to see that.
Yeah.
These are just different things that you want to see. It's obviously voluntary. So if those guys aren't there, look, there's no beef to be had by, the fans or anything like that. It is voluntary. And Kevin Byard's working. Christian Fulton, you see his videos, he puts in work too. So, yeah.
And I think it's interesting about Byard, because you and I were kind of throwing this around a good bit, is him not being there at voluntary workouts. Is that different this year than in years past? It's not a panic button. Is it a red flag? Kevin Byard's out there. Great. Kevin Byard is a leader. He has proven that throughout the entirety of his career as a Tennessee Titan. He can be a leader. He'll be out there doing the voluntary workouts. If he's not out there, what is that message to you?
Yeah.
It's tricky with the contract situation. I want to say, well, he's working out. He's doing his own thing. He'll be back for mandatory workouts. But it has that underlying uncomfort.
There every other time.
That's the thing.
I think that's really what it comes down to. But that's one of those things that he could diffuse as soon as the mandatory part is there. Go in and show that he's the same OG. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's what he has to do. And I think that's what he will do if he's not there. But it will kind of raise your eyebrow like, okay, this is something different. I mean, it's already different because, you think back, there's so many times, like I remember speaking to Byard in April, right before the draft.
He's always here.
Always here. And he's still here, but just not here in the facility.
Right, always in the facility.
Possibly not here in the facility. I don't want to, put something out there that I don't know for sure to be the case.
You go back. You mentioned the offense, the up-tempo offense, wanting to see a little bit more of Tim Kelly's DNA ingrained with how this offense works. To what extent are we really going to see that? Of course, you probably can't report on anything after Tuesday, but
I don't think you're going to see much. You'll get to see some of the looks, but that's it's one practice. Now, fortunately, it's the first one, so you'll get to see some of the install part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I do want to watch that, but I'm not so sure we're going to get deep into the book. I think that's something that'll come more like once we're able to have back-to-back practices, because you could obviously see more in that.
We'll see its infancy, at least get breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
See what looks good. What I'm looking forward to is, it's not exclusive to this year. I think it's something that I look forward to every year, making that jump from rookie minicamp to OTAs. How do the young guys start to integrate into the veterans?
Yeah.
How, on the field, in plays, the X's and O's, but also what's the communication like on the sideline? What kind of conversations are Will Levis and Ryan Tannehill having? Is he coaching them up a little bit? Is Will Levis studying and watching what Ryan Tannehill is doing, what the first team is doing, watching the receivers, conversations with the coaches, just kind of how that integration of the rookies with the older guys, now that it's in more of a formal setting, kind of how that looks and how that starts to shake out.
Yeah, that will be interesting, especially from the Willis perspective. Even just seeing the splits, like how they're going to have those reps divided between Tannehill, Willis, and Levis. So, yeah, you're right there.
The reps are going to be interesting.
Tajay Spears, like where they have him.
Yeah.
Is he going to work with the second team, or will it be Julius Chestnut, or will it be Chestnut working with the first team and Haskins with – there's a lot to unpack.
You can tell a lot. There are very few things that we can report, but you can tell a lot just by seeing who is on the field with who. Who is on the field with Will Levis? Who is on the field with Malik Willis?
Yeah.
Who is Tajay Spears on the field with? What does the offensive line look like? Where is Peter Skoronski taking snaps? And I think that's probably past the threshold of things that can be reported.
Yeah.
Where's Peter Skoronski going to be? Because I've said, throw him in at left tackle to begin, to start. See what you got. He's your first-round pick, the 11th overall pick. What does he look like at left tackle? Do they start him at guard? You know, where does the Andre Dillard aspect start to come in? How does this offensive line start to shape up?
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see who's taking snaps where.
I think that's something to watch, because it really – you say you want to get your best five out there, but you also want to get your best five, the best out of that best five.
The best unit.
Right. So, and like the best out of those particular guys. So is the best out of Dillard having him at left tackle and Skoronski at left guard? Or is it, you know, Dillard and Jamarco Jones? I don't know, but we'll see.
We'll see. Looking forward to it. Titans OTAs on Tuesday. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back Monday. ESPN Radio is up next.